audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
Yo, 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 check, 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 1, 2. Can y'all hear me out there, man? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear my voice, man. I'm going through an update right now. Updated my computer, man, and there's no telling if the update, man, screwed some things around, man. So if you can hear my voice, man, hit a 1, man. Okay, I see 1, 1. Cool, we good. We all the way good, bro. So look. I want to say, what's up to all the haters out there. I mean, I know a lot of people watch my channel. I get it. I understand. I get it. Okay. But if you come in, man, could you please, if you like the content, like the channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you can stay abreast of the things that go on here. And like I always do, before I even get started, I want to shout out all of the people who support the channel on an ongoing basis. And so this is just my display of appreciation for all of your ongoing fiduciary contributions and moral support. So shout out to Passport OG, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Rasheed Barnes, Blacksword 404, DF, Rais Muajid, Ben Cannon Kenton, Sherlin Woe, and Leon 008. Big up. Big up to Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Artisan MC, Dub Will, Mr. Good Dad, Dar, Third Coast X, Roderick Jackson, Michael Ralston, 63rd Samurai. Big up. Divine Love Ridge, Ishmael Samad, The Watcher, Hostile Adept, Red Pill Revelator, Killed the Game, Dr. Thunder, BGS Ibmore, Jason Hales, and Charles Finney. Big up. Interesting Thought, It's Always Jermaine, Naomi Gary, J. Cleveland Green, The Toxic Masculinist, Pulpit 28, Broken Blade, Larry R., Son, and Afro Troop TV. Big up. Show Me, Spain Man, Seven Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, An Honest Look, Ricky Dawson, Stefan True 7360, and Mr. Me Too. Big up. Call for President, Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Roguish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, Electrician 480, Binga, Cutting Up with the Jones, and Zanco 1. Big up. D. Scott, Path Guy 74, Pete Rock, Aaron Peters, Vincent Lindsay, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard 80OS, Jazz Deck, Shadow Observer, and Troy Warren. Big up. Mrs. K.P. Bailey, Alan Wiley, The Face, Life of Commerce, AI Apostle, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., and Adam. Big up. Ignatz Mouse, Dr. Tree 33, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Cameron S., Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, and Greg. Big up. Barry Little, Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, and Drew Main. Big up. Big up to Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, Universal 178, Aaron Smith, DH, Double, Kalanja Kala, and W. Pierre 1. Can't forget the brethren who have passed and have transitioned to the ethereal plane. Big up to Force Windu, David Carroll, and Kevin Samuels. Big up. For the people that support me on the Patreon side, Robert Wicks, Shine Language, Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Daxby, J Live, Rashawn Phillips Sorrells, Keith Bass, Nick, Albert C., Dr. Ben Vincent, I'm the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Dornell Smith, Excalibur, Prezor Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, J Bailey, Mr. Michi Momal, and Asangwa. Big up to y'all, man. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. It's really and truly, again, like I said, appreciate it. You deserve a round of applause. And if you would like to become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, here's how you do it, and I'll be back with what's going on. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla Channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla Channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla Channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, we're back, man. Of course, you know who I am. I'm GG, the Green Gorilla. I'm, the owner and the sole controller of the microphone on the Green Gorilla Channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely with no chasers, so they can say what they want, unadulterated, whether or not it's typecast as something that's regressive, anti-progressive, whether it's considered to be misogynistic or homophobic or politically incorrect, whatever the case may be. I mean, you could say it and express it here. I mean, if it's in good taste. What I'm not about to do today is about to, get into a whole bunch of rantings and ravings about this person's sexuality. That's not the reason that I want to have a conversation about this. So I'm just letting you know that from the beginning. So this is not about, this individual's sexuality. But Demet started as a content creator on YouTube, okay? And he has a channel, and I think the channel, for the most part, is dedicated to women's issues, but specifically black women's issues, the kind of things that they're worried about contemporarily related to politics, mating, dating, justice-related issues, and he has some opinions, okay? And, he curates his channel, and, he has a lot of women that, visit, his channel or whatever the case may be. And apparently, he's a member of the LGBTQ community. That's something I'm not really here to scoff at. I've had people on my channel before who are same gender loving, but they don't necessarily consider themselves to be gay. They consider themselves to be same gender loving, to kind of avoid some of the racial pitfalls that some people who are members of the LGBTQ community fall into. Namely that, somehow by being non-masculine or non-cisgendered heterosexual male and black specifically, you can kind of deviate further away from the negative kind of caricatures that accrue to you if you are a black man. So, they kind of want to sidestep that kind of movement or that kind of positioning. They don't want to act as if they don't have any connection to or any ties to black men, and they don't want to eschew in a wholehearted fashion their masculinity, okay? So as to approximate or come closer to whiteness and thereby to avoid danger, okay? Because let's face it, I mean, to be black and male in America, man, and it's a dangerous thing. It is what it is. It's fucking dangerous. Okay. But more often than not, the narrative is that somehow we are pathologically dangerous. And look, let me just say this before I get started. There are some people who probably heard this information before. I apologize to you all, but my viewpoint on the work that I do here on my channel and, being here, talking to people who are in the black manosphere is that, you got new people who are coming in all the time. And the kind of experiences that black men have and, the kind of things that they undergo, they're not changing. They're not necessarily getting better. And they won't get any better unless there is a conversation about what's actually occurring. And, guys sharing their experiences and, trying to label and put a name to some of the phenomena that kind of gets typecast as something other than what it ought to be. So let me stop talking, but and just get right to it. So first of all, I mean, if you don't know, Themis and Thoth, if you don't know anything about any of these figures, they're mythological gods, okay, from different ancient civilizations. So on the one hand, you got Themis, which is a female deity, okay, in Greek mythology. She's a titaness. So she's the daughter of a titan, okay? The daughter of Uranus, in fact, which is the sky, and then Gaia, which is the earth, okay? But Themis is known as the goddess of divine law, okay? Which is pretty, common if you know anything about mythology. Usually, I'm not going to say in all instances or all cases, but quite often the law or justice is represented as a woman, okay? That's just how things are, okay? One particular example I can give you is of Ma'at, which is the same kind of, I would consider to be a sister deity to Themis, okay? She's the personification of justice, balance, righteousness, and honesty and things of that nature, okay? So anyway, Themis is a titaness. She's the daughter of Uranus and Gaia, which is the sky and the earth. She's the goddess of divine law, justice, and order. And she's often depicted as wise, fair, okay, neutral, associated with the concept of natural law and the order of the universe or the cosmos. And she basically is someone who plays a role in the governance of gods and acted as an intermediary between the gods and humanity, okay? Also, Themis is the mother of the three fates, right? And the mother of the three seasons, okay? In Greek mythology. Then you have Thoth, right? Which is an Egyptian or a Kemetic deity. And Thoth is associated, of course, with knowledge, writing, magic, and judgment. Often depicted as a man with the head of an ibis, or often as a baboon. Both of these creatures are supposed to be indicative of animals that utilize judgment in an expert kind of way, in a uniquely or peculiar kind of way. And Thoth was considered to be the inventor of writing, of the hieroglyphs, and was regarded as a scribe of the gods, okay? He's also associated with wisdom, science, learning, the arts, and so on and so forth. So I would assume that Themis and Thoth, the curator of that channel, kind of desires to embody some of these characteristics of these two deities, okay? But having said all that, I just wanted to give you some backdrop as to what Themis and Thoth actually means, okay? So having said all that, I was watching like a segment of one of his shows, and look, I think the guy is partial to women. I think he's partial to women and their issues. But the funny thing, I tell this to gay men all the time, man, that are black specifically, man. Like, at the end of the day, you're still a black man, bruh. Especially if you don't present as trans, or, if you don't present as, drag or something like that, you're still going to be characterized as a man. You're still going to be subject to all of the same caricaturizations and stereotypes of other men. Unless, of course, you tend to express more feminine. Then you're kind of perceived as acceptable to a certain extent. You're perceived as less dangerous, okay? A little less malevolent, pathological, or you're perceived as less likely to create or cause harm, okay? So, but anyway, I ran across this guy's, this channel, because people have been talking about him. I know Mr. Z has talked about him. which is Black in Effect. There have been other people who've talked about him. But I just want to, I want to kind of go over some of the things that, he said in the context of one of his streams, and just kind of like present facts instead of narratives and discourses and scripts that predominate the conversation as it pertains to violence in Black neighborhoods, Black families, because all too often what we do is we dump the sources, the etiology of all the violence. We just sit it on Black men's doorsteps. We just say that, okay, you're the cause of violence, or you represent the potentiality for the most harm, so therefore we have to regulate and surveil you because you represent the greatest threat. Okay, so there have been people who are pushing back against this narrative. Not to say that, and I'm just going to be frank and open about this before I even get started. Like, Black men do have the capacity, just like anybody else in this world, to create and to cause harm. So, look, anybody can, I've always said this, I'm going to say this again. Both men and women of all races, of all sexual preferences, have the capacity to either exhibit virtue or vice. Bottom line. However, in this culture, specifically since the passage of the 64 Civil Rights Act, the picking up of momentum of the issues related to women who inaugurated the second wave of feminism, like we have a whole host of ideas and values and declarations and statements about danger and oppression and who is the source of it and what are the causes or the reasons for which that oppression is manifest. All right. I just think a lot, I'm somebody, I've taken 3 graduate seminars in feminist philosophy. So I've read a whole bunch of it. Okay. All the way from Mainsbridge, all the way up to Brittany Cooper. So I've read a whole bunch of feminist philosophy, man. I've read, John Stuart Mill, who was one of the first, in England, one of the first people to advocate for women's rights and shit like this. And, I've read a whole host. I've read Susan B. Anthony's work, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I mean, I've read a lot of feminist philosophy, so I'm not lost. I've read dominist feminist philosophy, okay? I've read Catherine McKinnon, Towards a Feminist Theory of the State. I've read Andrea Dworkin. I've read Ellen Pence. I've read a lot of this shit, okay? So before I even get started, though, I want to shout out some of the people who are hooking me up in the chat. Shout out to BGS. I see you out here, man. He says tuition paid. Shout out to him. I ain't gonna drop a bomb for everybody, man, but I am gonna acknowledge you right now before I get started. Kareem says he is also an immigrant. He is Jamaican, just for perspective. And look, a lot of people have, a bone to pick with Black immigrants. I have a different viewpoint. I understand that I am ADOS. I'm an American descendant of slavery. However, I am someone who acknowledges the horror and atrocity of slavery that took place in the Americas, not just in the United States of America, because the smallest amount of slaves actually ended up here. I understand and acknowledge that slavery took place in Brazil, in Saint Domingue, in the British, colonies, the French colonies. So I acknowledge all of that. I don't want to separate us, but some people, I get it, I understand, because if there are people who are being arrogant on the account that they consider themselves to be of a higher echelon than the wayward and the backward Negroes in America, well, then I think that's fucked up. But I think that, arrogance in the other direction is fucked up as well. But, anyway, Sam, he says listening. Shout out to him. And Vulcanus, shout out to him. So, at any rate, let me get back to what I was doing. So, anyway, man, but before I begin, I want to preface by showing you something I've shown y'all before. And also, I want to shout out Samity Sam. Sorry about that. He says, I just expect immigrants to have these kinds of opinions, and anti-black American opinions. It's more of a surprise when they don't. Look, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to throw this out here. The show is not about Pan-Africanism, but I do want to say this. Pan-Africanism, if it's going to be accepted as a norm, is not a unidirectional kind of commitment. It has to be a commitment. It has to be a commitment that's held on by everyone who is either from the continent or diaspora. Okay, it's not like, okay, well, we can kind of pick and choose, how dedicated we are. Like, if you don't have fidelity to the norm, well then kick rocks then. It's a two-way street. It's not just a one-way kind of devotion and, a commitment. It has to be a two-way street. Okay. So just saying that, just as a sidebar. But before I get off on a tangent too far, I just want to say this, right? And I've shown this chart before, not this chart, but this paper. I've shown this paper before that demonstrates, and I'm going to present it. Let me share the screen. But do a lot of screen sharing today. Okay, get the window going. All right, so there's this. To me, I think it's a misconception. Yeah, now I have read Ellen Pence, and I do understand that she's the person that came up with the power and control wheel and all of this shit. I just happen to think that she's wrong. And I do know that she did write a paper called Some Thoughts on Philosophy in a journal entitled Coordinating Community Responses to Domestic Violence. I think she wrote it in 93. I can't, 98. I can't really remember, but the whole point is she wrote an article which basically walked back some of the assumptions that she made and admitted to some of the biases that she was subjected to in developing, the whole concept of men, battering women because they want to be in control. And the way that they, exercise control is by beating people. That's, to me, it's just bullshit. It's been bullshit from the beginning, okay? And they knew it was bullshit. They just cooked the books up, okay? So at any rate, this is an annotated bibliography that examines assaults by women on their spouses or male partners, okay? And, the last date that I think he updated this was June 2014, which is, roughly maybe 9 years ago. But the research entailed within the study or encompassed within the study spans, decades, okay? So, the abstract of the annotated bibliography is as follows. This bibliography describes 343 scholarly investigations, 270 empirical studies, and 73 reviews which demonstrate that women are as physically aggressive as men or more in their relationships with their spouses or opposite sex partners. And the aggregate sample size in the review study exceeds 440,850 people. That's a large sample. I don't know if you know anything about the scientific method and anything about psychology and psychometrics and falsifiability and how to conduct inductive reasoning and how do you conduct studies in science in general. But that's a large sample, okay, when you talk about studying the population in psychology, okay? And I'm not going to go over all of this, but suffice it to say that the person who created this, his name is Martin Fiebert, okay? If you want to, and that's MartinFiebert. If you want the annotated bibliography, all you got to do is type his name in and annotated bibliography, assault and all that, it'll pop up, man. And I do this specifically because I just want it to be understood that men are not the inherent ontological source of violence and evil within the black community. It's fucking ridiculous to hear that, man. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm sick and tired of hearing this shit. Okay? I'm tired of it. But I'm going to explain to you why. So anyway, let's look at a little bit of the clip that I have from Themis and Thoughts. And I'm going to stop showing this for a minute. Let me hide that. Well, let me not hide it, but stop sharing it. Let me see, stop. Let me stop sharing that. And we're going to look at the clip. Present. You got to tell me if you can hear the audio, though, because I don't know if you can hear it or not. Okay? So I'm going to play the audio. This is fair use, Themis. I'm not here to attack you. This is not about attacking Themis. As much as it's about exploring the way people view phenomena and whether or not the way that they view it is accurate. All right? So, can you hear that?
Talking about black women being...
Can you hear that? Put a one in, before I move forward, I want to know if you can hear that. So,
the least attractive. So it's not just how he said it, it is what he said.
So right now he's kind of going in on Kevin Samuels. That's what this is about. He's going in on Kevin Samuels.
No. So anywho, I'm sorry, it's very difficult for me to sit here and hear someone who's like, oh my God, this man is an intellectual when he's talking about how necessary Kevin Samuels is. Absolutely not. No. Sorry, there's a super chat here. Lovely holding black women accountable for church. If black women leave the pews, the mega pastors, misogyny, and black women in the institution will have no fuel. Period.
So it's preliminary. This is not it. So this is all preliminary.
Sorry, there was a... I want black women to be accountable for the DV rates in the community.
There we go.
Wait, I'm confused. Keisha, go ahead.
So the statement was made, apparently, I want black women to be responsible for the DV rates present in the black community. And the first thing he says is, hold on, hold up, wait. Hold up. We all know that it's Negroes that's doing this shit. Like, not female, you know, when we say Negro, let me just be frank, okay? Because the show is explicit, but niggas do this shit, not women. The video is 2 months old, man. The video is 2 months old. It ain't 2 years old, it's 2 months old. Okay? But beyond that, okay, this is not really, actually, this video is not an attack against Themis as much as it is because, like, Themis is put into a rock and a hard place here, I feel, in the context of this conversation. And you'll see why, okay?
Hi, good evening. I just wanted just to say that I think...
Oh, it was Tiff who said it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tiff, you said you want the black woman to be accountable for what?
Yes, just to, I think.
Hello?
Oh.
I'm Tiffany.
Oh, all right, Tiffany, you go first, and then
I'm
we go to
sorry.
Keisha.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I was saying that I think that black women should be held accountable for some of the domestic violence rates in the community because I feel.
Now look. So this is first thing I'm thinking is, okay, now she being reasonable. Like I'm thinking to myself, okay, she's admitting that women are part of this problem. That it's not just men who are the problem, and you know the ideology behind it all is the desire to dominate and to be in control and to have power. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe she's understanding that this is a bidirectional issue and a problem that's exacerbated by a whole bunch of circumstantial correlates and so on. So this is what I'm thinking she's about to say. But then it goes downhill. It goes from what I thought was going to be something pretty good to Anyway, look, check, peep it out.
Feel like a lot of black women teach their sons that if a girl hits you, you can hit them back. If she act like a man, well, you could treat her like a man. And I feel like black women do not teach their sons to be calm, cool and collected. And the reason I'm putting it on black women is because they raise the boys. And I have personally, because I work in a school district, I have personally dealt with mothers whose sons hit girls in school. I'm talking about laid them out. And the mother will come in there and say, oh, well, she shouldn't have hit him first. And this, that, and the third. Not teaching their sons at all. Look, don't hit a girl. And I've seen this over and over and over again, where black mothers literally teach their boys, if she hits you, you can hit her back.
So this, to me, I mean, just listen to this shit. So the issue is, now, first and foremost, like, equivocating what's going on in a school environment with what goes on in an intimate partner relationship is two totally different things, okay? But they're linked together, I guess, because violence is the common denominator related to the issue of violence itself. But the whole point she's making is men should never, and this is a commonly made argument, men should never in any shape, form, or fashion harm women ever, even when they're being harmed. Now, my viewpoint on this shit is, I would like somebody to make an ethical argument on why this is permissible. I'm challenging. I am challenging anyone to, let me lead an invite. I am challenging anyone to provide me with an ethical argument that demonstrates beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is perfectly permissible for a woman, after she is an initiator of an assault, to be free from, in any situation, she should be free from the expectation of any reprisal whatsoever. I want somebody to provide an argument for me. I'm not saying an argument can't be made. I'm just saying I want to see a convincing one on ethical grounds. Now, I mean, first of all, I'm somebody who's taught ethics for decades. So I know what an ethical argument is, and I know the kind of reasoning that would have to be involved in order to make one that's convincing. I just want to see one. But the oddity of all of this was ironic. So she comes on and she says, well, black women have to bear some responsibility for domestic violence. Why? Well, because they're not teaching their sons not to hit women, even when women are hitting them. I'm like, what type of fuckery is this? So, and then when men see this and they complain about this and they say, hey, look, there's something awry, there's something wrong in this type of reasoning. The only thing we do is we get typecast as sexist, rapist, abusers. And it's like, come on, man, what the fuck? Shout out to Miss Sunkiss, shout out to her. She says, I told my son he had permission to hit a girl before. She was hitting him every day. And I told him I'd give him permission to knock fire from her because he don't have to keep keep taking her abuse. Now she's gonna say you're part of the problem. You're contributing to violence and battery against women by allowing for or making giving a moral pass for harm being able to befall a woman. This is the argument she's making. And this puts Themis into a quandary here. And listen to what he says. Listen to how he responds to it. And to be quite frank, I think that his response to me, to some degree, is spot on, whether you like him or not.
So the domestic violence, because these boys grow up to be men and they're taught that. So the domestic violent rates, to me, have a lot to do with how Black women raise their boys concerning each other. Like, teach your boys, don't put, I never heard a Latina woman come in my office and say, well, she hit him first, so my son can hit her back. Never. They don't teach their boys that.
Now, personally, I'm not about, to me, that's all hearsay and speculation. We do know that Latinos and white people, both male and female, engage in domestic violence, bro. So whatever the fuck they telling them or not, they're doing it, okay? The phenomenon is present in their communities as well. But let me keep pushing.
I'm trying to metabolize this. So you're saying grown men who hit women, the fault is on the mother who raised him to hit women.
Not all the time, but I feel like, look, I work in a school district, so I'm seeing them at elementary age, right? And I'm seeing mothers literally teaching their sons that if a girl hits you, you can hit her back if she hits you first. This is what I'm witnessing. I'm talking about with 5, 6, 7-year-olds.
I feel like the conversation should be children shouldn't hit each other.
That's to me, to me, that is clearly obvious, man. To me, it's clearly obvious that the answer to this question should be people shouldn't hit each other. Not one time do I hear this woman say anything about, well, like parents should teach their children, male and female, not to engage in violence when they have conflicts. That's not what she says. She just says it's a problem with men because men are being told it's okay, even if they're violated, even if they're assaulted, to hit back. That's the source of the issue. So ultimately, it's all men's fault. Which to me, I find quite frankly, I just find it offensive. I just find this shit offensive. But anyway, keep pushing.
You're right, but we don't live in a perfect world. So people are, first of all, I believe that. I
find it hard to believe that they're singling out women and they're saying, if a young girl hits you, hit them back. By the way, I think this is all toxic. But I think what is happening is they're probably saying you should hit whoever hits you. And if a girl hits you, they hit them back.
Right. But
I don't appreciate a paradigm where we're saying it's okay for young girls to be hitting boys.
No.
So you can say whatever you want to say about them, it's about this issue, but at least I think he gets this shit right. I think he gets this right. Okay, now, my viewpoint, man, I've always said this. People are going to consider me to be a fucking misogynist, a misogynist and all of this. My whole thing is, look, I always say this, I'm going to say it again. I don't think that women ontologically have like innate character flaws and shit, like they're like a source of evil ontologically. I think that it has to do with enculturation. I think it has to do with law and policy and a whole bunch of other factors. It could even have to do with economics and, social circumstances and things. I am not in the business of reducing certain segments of any population to ontological evil. I just think that's errant reasoning. That's just my opinion. I know people would disagree. That's just my viewpoint. All I've ever said is both men and women have the capacity to exhibit either virtue or vice. That's all I've been saying. But some people, translate that into, well, you're just admitting that, the men don't have an issue. No, what you don't do is admit that women have some fucking issues. That's the problem. We act like men aren't subjected to the same bullshit in the community as are women. We act like women are just like the only people subjected to harm, and that men are the only ones causing it, which is some bullshit. So let me just say this. Let me shout out, again, Asada Muhammad says, and I'm gonna let some people in because I want other people to join me in this. Girls hitting boys without consequences has perpetuated the idea that women get a pass for being abusive. I think you're on to something there. I think you're on to something when you say that. Okay? They get a pass for being abusive, rude, unfaithful, a whole bunch of shit. It's been the domino effect for women's bullshit. So the idea is, anybody knows that if you commit an offense, there could be several responses for committing that offense. The offense can be met with vengeance, retribution. I mean, there's a whole series of reasons for which people are punished. Deterrence, incapacitation, retribution, vengeance, and I forget the other one. But the whole point is, when you have a demographic who's been told that they don't have to expect any natural, social, or legal sanctions for inappropriate or abusive or violent behavior, what the fuck are you teaching this group of people? You're teaching them, quite frankly, what you're actually doing is you're exposing those people to risk. Bottom fucking line, you're exposing them to risk. Shout out to Hurricane Greg for the $5 hitter quitter. And shout out to Detroit 313, who says, I witnessed that back in high school, more black girls are hitting boys than boys. When they not interact with them, can still be assaulted by the girls. And look, we already know, like, quite frankly, let me just be honest about this. I think that, like, with new understandings about gender equality, you're going to get new moral norms and moral prescriptions about what's tolerated and what's not to be tolerated related to behavior, a whole host of behaviors and a whole constellation of interactions between the sexes that probably wouldn't have gone on before, but that now are brought into question because the whole normative structure of interaction between the genders is in flux. It's everything is fucking, there's no center anymore related to these issues. And this is purposeful, okay? So I brought Off Code in, I've brought Big Kev in. If you got anything you want to say preliminarily, you can say it, but keep in mind, I do want to move through this video a little bit more. I'm not going to spend hours watching this video. I'm not going to do that, okay? But right. It's clear to me that Femis is, he might not have even expected to hear this kind of conversation coming from women on his show, or maybe he has, I don't know. But at least I think he's right to push back against this narrative that, well, the problem of DV is that, women aren't teaching their sons not to, hit women back. It ain't, the problem has nothing to do also with women being violent. It's just, well, men are being violent when women are being violent, and that's the cause of DV. Like, what the fuck type crazy shit is that? And what it does is, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it does. To me, it makes it allowable and permissible for men to be assaulted at the whimsy of a woman, and that there be no legal, social, or natural consequences or responses for the shit. That's my perspective on it. Shout out to Salty Balls. And to me, that's just, I'm looking for somebody to make an ethical case, an ethical argument that is convincing, that is permissible to allow for or to permit for the violation of a man's dignity with no response, natural, legal, or social. Because, you know, well, she's a snowflake or some shit like that. Like, what the fuck is this, man? I don't get it. But
Can I make that argument, GG?
go ahead.
Yeah, I was about,
I would say my argument is the one big thing I think is that even when you say make it ethical, right? In this society, unfortunately, females don't have to be ethical. Okay. So the conversation that we're having about make it ethical or legal or whatever, because even people in the legal system, right? They still view things from a female versus male lens, if that makes sense, right?
Traditional
So-
gender norms apply into how punishment or retributive justice is allocated. I'm using graduated terms. You want me to use nigga terms? I'll use it. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to punishing motherfuckers, there hasn't been the same kind of recalibration of gender norms, right, as there has been when it comes to distributive justice. Okay, when it comes to distributive justice, there's a whole bunch of, movement and a whole bunch of propulsion towards making sure that women get the same resources and have access to the same positions as men. However, as it pertains to punishment, of course, that shit just is sorely lagging. When it comes to retributive justice and punishment, there hasn't been an attendant push to see that equality adheres in the same way that it does for distributive justice. But go ahead.
I mean, males are not seen as human beings. Again, to go back to the old phraseology people was talking about maybe 10, 20 years ago, males are human doings, right? So we're not even looked at like that, especially if you're a black male. You're not a man. You're not even a human being. Your emotions and things don't count, right? Like if we go back to Mayor Giuliani when he was a mayor in New York, he said it on a broadcast live. Men are disposable. He said that live when he was a mayor.
But I mean, hey, we already know that throughout history, the demographic that is required to sacrifice their body the most, they're supposed to take on risk the most, and that get subjected to violence and death the most, have traditionally been men.
Yes.
In human societies, okay? Now, I can't speak to, societies of lions or tigers or bears or chimpanzees or bonobos or, macaques or anything like this. All I know is when it comes to, because there are species of animals and insects in which women hold their own in terms of violence.
Yes.
Okay? These are facts. This is an indisputable. So, damn, okay, well, that's a pretty cool sound. But anyway, it's an indisputed, I think, indubitable fact about the world that, like, in some species, women are violent. And it just so happens that in the human species as well, women are fucking violent. It's the truth.
Yes, it's nature and nurture, right, GG? It's nature and nurture, right? It kind of almost seems like, GG, that the older tenants, right, are not really being talked about anymore. Now it's kind of focused on stats and figures and shit, as if females give a fuck about that. They really don't. They don't have to, right?
Well, to me, I don't care if they give a fuck about it or not. I think that you have to be armed with understanding about the way the world works.
Absolutely.
So that eventually, like,
that's quite survival. We have
I can't look. I'm not going to get into whether or not women are reasonable or whether they're emotional or rational, intellectual or like more emotive. I don't want to even get into that conversation and open up that can of worms because I've been down there before.
Me either. I'm saying that The
I
male.
think that typically, I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say in general, people do not like to hear evidence that disrupts any viewpoint that they perceive to be true. I don't care if it's male or female, black, white, red, brown. People typically do not like to hear that, which upends their understanding or their perception or understanding of the truth. That's just a human problem. Okay? Now, but add insult to injury with this shit, though. You know, like, I mean, recently, look, I know that these opinions have become part and parcel of popular culture since second wave feminism. This is just the truth, okay? Like, certain assumptions go unchallenged. Certain statements go unchecked, unverified. It's almost as if moral arguments can be a substitute for what actually is a matter of fact about the world. And I don't like people who like mix and match moral arguments with facts, about the world, because I think that there's a difference between, like, to use a popular philosopher's understanding, there's something called Hume's fork. So you can make relations of ideas arguments, or you can make matters of fact statements about the world. I just think that a lot of people are making statements that they're claiming they're making statements about facts when they're actually making moral arguments. Okay, so anyway, Kev.
Yeah. 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 I didn't want to say anything.
Whose mic is that, man? That shit sounds fucked up, bro.
Hold on. Maybe it's my headphones, man. I think this is gonna have to do.
Man, get that straight, bro.
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah, get that straight, Kev.
Okay, perfect. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, but anyways, Gigi, like I said, you will be having some fire ass monologues, man. I don't want to be saying that. I'm like, oh, bro, you know what I mean? I just kind of let you go. But anyways, in regards to what you're saying, in regards to this Themis and Thoth thing, I think Mr. Z actually did a video on it. Shout out to Mr. Z. But the thing that, again, and I keep saying this, Gigi, like, number one, okay, when you talk about this idea that women should be allowed to like hit men and disrespect men without any repercussions, just remember a female supremacy is a byproduct of slavery and colonialism. It's not a response to it. It's a byproduct of it. Number one. Number two, and I understand, you really like a lot of pro-black songs, and you even made a video called "Don't Get Koofy Smacked." I'm saying, Gigi, when you really begin to open your eyes and look, like the majority of these people nowadays that claim to be pro-black, hotep, feminists, etc., these are people who spent their late teens, 20s, and early 30s either running the streets, promoting female supremacy, or chasing white validation, and they have nothing to show for it. So what they do is, as a way of kind of grifting, they try to overcompensate by trying to be this super ultra woke pro bliggity black, but like you said, when you rip apart their moral arguments, they're really on some bullshit. You know what I mean? And the most prominent example of it is Black Lives Matter, but they're not the only ones doing it. And what I think is, again, it's with these videos, kind of debunking these arguments, I'm like, a lot of young brothers are just going to have to start treating people like this, like they're crackheads. You know what I mean? Like, just like how you look at a crackhead, do you kind of pity them? Yeah. But do you want to be around them? No. You want nothing to do with them. You just high and by, listen, I understand what you're trying to say, but I'm not trying to hear that shit. Like, we need to stop taking them seriously. And it's about time that, their credibility just be destroyed, because to be honest, like, they say they want to come together and try to talk all this community stuff and the family this and the family that, but their actions don't match their words. They're just doing what filmmakers call an exposition dump. And just like in film school, what do they teach you? That's one of the worst things you could do. Show, don't tell. So
but look, let me just say this, right? I understand like why so many people think the way they do, because let's just face it, man. Most people aren't rebel rousers. They're not really critical thinkers or social critics. They're not really actually adversarial. Because I'm just going to tell you my opinion about woke culture, period. my assessment of it is that it's a cheap form of politics. Now anybody that knows anything
Absolutely.
about
Yep.
the progressive left knows that the progressive left was basically, it was all magnetized and centered around Marxian or socialist kind of thinking, right? Which ultimately has an economic or material focus. Okay, it's about the distribution and control of the forces of production. Okay,
Right.
that's what the left, the progressive left, initially is about. It's an economics thing. Okay, now I'm not saying that there aren't any other elements to it, but primarily that's the source of it. Okay, like Marxist theory. Then you start to get into critical theory and shit like that, the Frankfurt School and the thinkers who revolutionized ideas related to it based upon Marxian philosophy. So you got like Marcuse, Adorno, Horkheimer, and all them motherfuckers in the Frankfurt School. Okay, but what grows out of that eventually is the politics of sex. Now, and I don't have an issue with the politics of sex to some extent, but when it becomes the paramount and the only way to talk about liberal politics and everything else gets shelved and tabled, then it just becomes the politics of fucking. And I don't think that that's
Exactly.
revolutionary. In fact,
Exactly.
to me,
Yeah.
it's anti-revolutionary to the extent that it doesn't require the government to do anything. Okay, it doesn't require redistribution of resources. It doesn't require allocation of financial subsidies to right previous wrongs or to make a more equitable society. All it does is it allows for corporations, government institutions, academic institutions to propagandize that they're diverse, that they're inclusive. And what's the grounds? Well, we got a couple of token gay motherfuckers, trans motherfuckers, and a couple of Negroes here and there. I mean, we're not really actually dedicated to any radical, redistributive, material, dialectically based politics. All we're here for is like the virtue signaling and the grandstanding about the marginalized amongst the marginalized. I'm like, man, that's not a progressive politics, man. It's some bullshit. It's token nigga politics, and it's token gay politics, bro. I'm just keeping it a buck.
In that, GG, it actually
Yes.
makes sense as to why there would be a social contract then for women to be declared as not being able to be violent. You know what I'm saying? Because it politically helps them. Because I was going to ask, what could be any benefit objectively to the adherence of such a social contract standard? Because it, inherently, I'm saying women are violent, but you got to think about it culturally. How violent have their women specifically been? You know what I'm talking about? The ones who've been kicked off this movement. They already understand that they're violent. But to me, it's the same as, dealing with one of these school shooters or something. They can't really prosecute, like that, because that's also a part of their culture. So yes, we all share the same society, but you do have those that operate under, exclusive cultural stances.
But let me but before we get too far off the point or the path, I want to show more of this video, and I also want to read some of these chats. Okay, Distinguished Legacy says promoting and financing negative liberties while simultaneously rejecting to showcase how this affects a class or culture of people should be a crime against humanity. I've made a similar kind of argument. Like, one of the things I think that is overemphasized and deified in this culture is negative liberty, or kind of like the freedom that comes out of the modern tradition. Like, you can't tell me what to do. The government can't tell me what to do.
Right.
Freedom is basically it's the removal of external impediments to your mobility. That's what freedom is to most people. Now, I perceive freedom a little bit differently. I think that freedom, there's different kinds of it. You got negative liberty, you got positive liberty, you have the freedom of self-perfection, the freedom of self-realization, and I'm not gonna say none of these things are talked about, but when it comes to like comparison, the thing that eclipses everything else is just people acting as if like they just want to be able to do whatever they want to do, as if that's going to lead to what I consider to be like in the virtue ethics tradition, eudaimonia, like you're going to achieve the good life by just being able to do whatever the fuck you want to do whenever you want to do it. Like that's not a precondition. Well, put it this way: it's not a condition that satisfies living a good life. Right. Now, so let me just say this. Also, shout out to Salty Balls again. He says, "Doctor, art thou an argument of epistemological accord at hand here?" I guess, man. He said extreme hedonism. That's what I think that the argument. This is about hedonism, okay? Yeah. And a kind of crass form of hedonism and material opulence. As well. But look, let me just say this, okay? So I just want to move on with some more of this video. And then I want to show some other shit as well. So
what about social
it's not okay for anybody to hit anybody. Let's be clear about that. It's not okay for anybody to hit anybody. But I do see young girls that are emotional and irate and they get upset because a guy's joking on them or something and they'll pop them or something. But the boy will literally turn around and lay her ass out, like lay her out. And I see mothers come in and say, well, she popped him first. Like, why can't they just teach their sons not to hit women at all? Even if a woman pop you.
I don't know. Absolutely not. I hope you stop that statement right there. A woman should not be popping you at all. Absolutely.
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. I agree with you.
Not be, so we don't get to the conversation of even if they shouldn't.
Okay, they shouldn't. But we know that there's a difference between women physically and men physically. So let's make the scenario and say, what if a woman do get pissed off and slap you? Or what if a woman do get pissed off that you've done something to upset her and we can make that scenario famous because that's real life and people that does happen.
If you hit a man, you should be locked up in the way that he would be locked up. Do not.
Hey, look.
Well put.
I ain't mad at them. It's right there.
Well put.
I'm not mad at them.
Hey, look.
That's battery. That's battery.
I'm not mad at them. It's like that. But here's the issue though, right? I want you to think about this. Do you think that this woman would feel like that, like what Themis just said was true? That like if a woman assaults a boy, if a girl assaults a boy, her ass ought to be locked up and the future ought to be put in jeopardy? You think that?
Not at all.
I don't think so either, bro. I don't think these chicks feel like there should be any punishment, social, legal, or natural, related to them and their wrongdoing and the harm they cause. But so what they try to do, in my viewpoint, is they try to explain away their harm as minuscule or not a real harm at all. Because, I mean, ultimately, there is sexual dimorphism in the human species. Men on average are bigger and stronger than women, okay? On average. Now, this is not to say that, women, there aren't any women who can't whip men's asses. That's just not, it's not the case. And a lot of guys, I mean, every guy has the expectation that, he would catch the ball in the Super Bowl if it was thrown to him, where, or like if he was in the ring with Muhammad Ali, that he actually could last, 4 or 5 rounds when probably, he'll get Tyson in the first 30 seconds or some shit.
Exactly.
Can I add this too, GG?
Go ahead.
There's also, because this is modern environment, there's also things that equalize the violence that they can produce. And a lot of people don't talk about that.
Oh, shit, knives, there always has been ways. There have always been ways that women are capable. Ever since there have been weapons, women have been able to and have killed men, just as men have killed women.
And that's why when dudes say things like, they go with the talking point of, you should never do anything to a female. I say, okay, right? Because they don't know that they're even playing against their own self-interest. Because once that female gets in a car and tries to run you over or shoot you or stabs you, I don't want to hear you talk about you was in self-defense where you hit her. No, you
So-
good. You good.
But
You
then,
good.
then the conversation moves to what did he do? And so my look, here's my issue about this, right?
Yeah.
My issue is I don't believe that women. I'm more of a feminist than most motherfucking women are, bro.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm gonna hold them up to the same standards as everybody else morally. I'm not gonna make different standards for women and say, well, okay, well, you're a woman, you could do X, Y, and Z, whereas if you're a man, you can't do X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna say, well, look, it is true that there's a difference between us in terms of our biology.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that there ought to be different kinds of moral prescriptions for males and females.
I mean, but couldn't something actually change the whole element of, you know, how domesticated pigs become feral when they out in the wild? So, you know what I'm saying? With them being independent, I'm strong independent, bitch, you out in the wild. So, you know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't certain moralism change about their character?
Well, my whole thing is this. And look, this is a society, right?
Yeah.
And let me just say this. Violence as a response to discomfort is a thing that is indoctrinated into, or people learn this habit through experience, okay? It's something that they learn through experience. People don't like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, you know, like violence is not natural, because I think that to some degree there is like a natural, you know, violent response that people engage in for a variety of different reasons. But I think that like as a way to handle discomfort or irritation, I think that's socialization.
Right.
Okay.
But you notice you're speaking violence on this sister. It's not resonating to her as violence as the reason why the little girls are hitting first, that they're being violent. It's just that, oh, well, no, that's what little girls do. So she believes that she's looking at something that's just
She is
intrinsic in nature.
enabling violent behavior on behalf of women. What the fuck it is?
Exactly.
Man,
That's my viewpoint on it. To me, when I hear enabling conversation, and I hear Themis trying to check it.
Yeah.
I will counter that and say that males do it even more. Males enable
Yeah, of course they do.
females
Yeah,
to be
yes, they
violent
do.
towards males, because I say that human beings, not just females or males, just human beings, don't really believe in justice. They believe in preferential treatment, and it's towards females. Even males.
We'll put it this way. Look, let me just say this. I think that's socialization as well.
Could be.
You have to be so. There have been
definitely
cultures.
so.
There are various cultures on the planet where that shit doesn't fly. Like, oh, well, you're a woman, you just get preferential treatment, you get treated like a queen and shit. That doesn't happen in every culture. That's a form that comes about through socialization.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And in particular, it has come about in this culture. I mean, it shouldn't be a strange secret, man, that like the purity and the benevolence of womanhood is connected to white womanhood.
There you
Okay.
go.
And then you
Right.
also have to understand that white womanhood in the West at this juncture is a product of slavery, bro, and conquest and colonialism.
Hell,
And
a lot
then
of white men are scared of the womanhood of non-white women at this point because of what you're talking about.
But I mean, look, I think that like typically, like my viewpoint on it is this: typically, a man will endure abuse for a prolonged period. I'm not gonna say like it's always the case, because you got some guys who are fucking assholes out here. I mean, it is the case that there are some fucking dudes out here who are fucked up.
Right.
Right. There's no disputation about that. Okay, so I just want to make it also. But hold on, man. I just also want to make it clear that there are some women also who are out here who are fucked up.
Definitely.
And that like men don't have a monopoly on malevolence. That should just be understood. But in our culture, we don't have the capacity to understand that. And I don't understand what we don't understand about that. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that every situation is a situation where typically, typically a man will endure abuse from a woman until it gets out of hand.
You're talking about American culture, GG?
I'm talking, yes, in American culture.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Specifically American culture.
Right.
It's specifically American Southern culture. Okay?
Okay.
A man will tolerate abuse for a prolonged period of time. However, if the man does respond, the first thing that's going to be on the mind of that woman is, what did I do to deserve this overwhelming force of violence coming to my direction?
He just whooped my ass.
But see, that's what you're looking at right there, GG. Go back into the rest of it, because I want y'all to point out something with this one chick. No matter how many times someone gets her on the right path of the logic, the basic logic of it, she goes, "Yeah, but I know. Yeah, but I know." It's like, so what? How is it that that it's not violence for anybody to hit anybody to her? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the whole point. I know what the argument is.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag at the moment. Okay,
males did that.
I will talk about it. But let me do this, Miss Sunkiss. I'm gonna let you speak for a quick minute. But before you do, I want to shout out Mr. Heat. Shout out to him, man. You know what I'm saying? Let me give him some fanfare real fast, bro. Real talk, man. Not that. That's the wrong one right there.
Bring it back.
I was about to give him a one.
Respect.
So yeah, so you know, my view, and this is I just saw this comment from Jerome, and because my daughter at one point was doing MMA and shit, because I was doing MMA, and she wanted to come where I was, so I'm like, okay, motherfucker, you can come where I'm coming, okay? So you see me punching and shit, you want to do it, okay? So all right. You get out there on the mat and you get choked the fuck out.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm just saying now, the natural impulse, like normal dads would be like, well, I got to go out there and save my baby.
Right.
I'm like, shit, you better get on her ass. On his ass, because they at her age, she was like, at the time, she was like, 11, shit like that.
Right.
9, 10, 11.
Right.
What am I supposed to do when you're getting choked out? I can't come out there and help you. You got to break the move. You got to do some choking and arm barring and some leg locking your damn self. You've learned these moves. You've been over them over and over again.
Right.
But it just so happens that she's rolling with like kids that have been doing this shit for like 5-6 years. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get up to speed.
Oh,
was it
these little kids is fucking winning championships and shit. They taking home trophies. So you getting your arm, like you about to get your arm broke off.
Right.
My whole thing is I know other parents probably was like looking at me like, damn, he's hard. But I'm like, shit. Asked to get. I done spent this money for you to get out here to learn this shit. So for real, actually, you learning how to protect yourself in the end, as opposed to being some weak ass, demure, well, I'm a delicate flower, couldn't hurt a fly type woman. If a motherfucker does put their hands on you, you know how to handle it.
But see, that's the issue is them not understanding how to augment certain levels of their strength. Like that's the whole issue with feminism. It got these women going into an element of strength development that is outside of what's supposed to be their strength principle. And it's like, yeah, you are stronger in your daintiness because you don't have to have a forceful strength when you can have a strength of presence, a strength of inspiration. You know what I mean? That's that soft strength. But if you talking martial arts, that's always, the higher element of strength. But you know what I'm saying? Everything becomes Tai Chi, you know what I'm saying, when the bones tell you to.
But look, here's my viewpoint on this shit, right? I don't know if you know anything about somatic intelligence, but I think that, like body intelligence is something that both men and women have in either greater or shorter supplies.
Okay.
Like some women can just move better than men, like dance better, can tumble. Like if you see a female gymnast, like especially at the professional level, some of those women are like way more physically talented than men are, like the average man.
Right.
You know, not to say that like a man at that level won't be able to beat her in some ways, but like there's some shit that women can do better than men, and some shit that men can do better than women physically. Okay. Now, the only thing I want tumbling, like it ain't too many dudes who can tumble like, you know, like them little bitty short ass little girls, man.
Exactly. They got the flexibility. They got the flexibility for it, and they augment their strength in the physical aspect of it. But they're still girly as they do it, as they express all that power, all that forceful expression. It's still feminine. It's still girly. It's nothing about it that says like the WNBA. Bitches all tatted the fuck up and still can't play a motherfucking lick of ball. I'm
not gonna even go there, man. Look,
fuck out of here.
So look. I'm not trying to hate on the women or whatever the case may be, because that's not my goal. My goal is not to say that women are inferior physically, or that like men are superior physically or intellectually or emotively. The only thing I'm saying, to be quite honest, because I think a lot of that shit is stereotypes, okay? But at the end of the day, I want to let where the old girl Sunkiss go?
I'm still here.
Speak your piece. I gotta roll some more of this video though.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, respond to me being part of the problem. I feel like telling these little girls that a boy shouldn't hit them without telling them to keep their hands to themselves is the problem. Now, my son is the oldest of my children, and when my daughter came, I told him not to put his hands on her. And when my daughter got to an age where she had a hand problem for some reason, so I had to tell her, I will put a hole in you if you put your hands on my son again. Don't nobody pass leaks around here. You keep your hands to yourself, because she needs to know that in her adulthood, if she puts her hand on a man, the man could probably go ahead and go on and knock the sunny coins out of her, and that's what she gets for putting her hands on him. So these women running around here thinking it's okay to put their hands on men because they was conditioned at a young age that a man shouldn't hit a woman or a boy shouldn't hit a girl. But nobody's teaching these girls that they need to keep their hands to themselves. And it's not that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't let your thought complete. Go ahead.
It's not that I just tell him, oh yeah, if a girl hits you, knock the hell out of him. No, I don't tell him that, because I don't want him to grow up to think, oh, it's okay just to go beat a woman down to the ground. However, if you can get away from her, call the police, get her locked up. But some of these women act like wild animals. Yeah, I advocate calling the police on women. More men need to do it. And as for
put them people in their life.
Him, yeah, get her locked up. She won't have no problem calling the police on you. Lock her up. So,
but see, that's the issue though. One of the things that I do know, and here's the reason why. Let me explain why men typically don't respond in the way that women do to experiences related to violence. Okay, like men will fight each other. They're not going to call the police, typically. I mean, unless it's like some gross violation of their dignity or something like that. You know what I mean? Like if it's like a fist fight or some shit like that in high school, like he hit me, I'm calling the police. Typically, that's not going to happen. Okay. But let's just be frank about this. Women have been taught, they have been encouraged to snitch. Bottom line, they've been encouraged to do that shit. Like, go tell.
Is that nature or nurture? You say
that's nurture to me.
Nurture.
That's nurture to me. That is nurture. Okay, to me, because it's not happening everywhere. It didn't always happen. I know for a fact that the current policy and the law associated with DV and violence between men or boys and girls and shit like that, it's a feature and a function of the Duluth model of DV that Ellen Pence and people like Catherine McKinnon and Andrea Dworkin put into public law and policy. Okay, I know that to be factual. Okay, and I do know how police used to treat these issues and how everybody else used to treat the issues. Well, that's between them. They're having a dispute. That's none of my business.
So in other words, Gigi, higher echelon or societal men encourage women to snitch on men.
initially it was women who basically used the concept, or the argument was is that there's something called patriarchy, which compels men to want to be able to control and to exert power over people, you know, who they perceive to be weaker than them or inferior or lesser than themselves. Okay. And so when they don't get their way, they get their way by being violent or forceful or using the threat of violence. Okay. You know, so I mean, because you don't always have to hit somebody. If you kind of threaten that you, or you indicate physically through a gesture that you might, it might be enough to put the person in fear. Okay?
So it's a fluctuative victimization. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's an ebb and flow to it. It's not.
But the point is, like if you look at intersectionality is an apology. Now, because there's two papers. You got like the first paper. I forget what the name of it was. I got to go back, man, and look at Kimberly Crenshaw's work again because I forget from time to time. Plus, I'm getting old. But I mean, the second paper that she wrote on intersectionality was about DV and sexual assault and black women's experience with it, and women of color's experience with violence from men. The first paper was about like access to jobs and shit like this and positions and shit like that. Okay?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the first one was about distributive justice. The other one was kind of linking itself to and tying itself into the work of dominist feminists like Andrea Dworkin, Ellen Pence, and Catherine McKinnon.
Now, would you say that white women actually have a valid gripe with viewing such egregious juxtaposition of what their social value has been within their own tribe? You know what I'm saying?
No, man,
they do got to deal with these.
No,
feelings.
man, look, I'm gonna tell you why. Because the first person, that I know of, if my memory serves me correct, because I often forget, but Erin Pizzey is the person who first set up the domestic violence shelters in UK.
Okay.
And she understood from the beginning that like this is not just a male problem. This is a cultural, familial problem. It has to do with upbringing, and it has to do with experience, and it has to do, with like the transition and the passing on of legacy curses. Like my mom and my dad were violent, and so I became violent. It was copying and modeling behavior. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, that's the tack that Pizzey took. But the feminists, were like, well, she's fucking it up. You know what I'm saying? We want to come with a different narrative that it's like the patriarchy that causes this shit. It's not family, history that causes it. It's the patriarchy. So, I mean, now you get to pin the tail on the male donkey. Okay? I personally, what we now know, like that's why I showed the studies at the beginning before I even started with the show.
Yeah.
The research demonstrates that men and women, both in intimate partner relationships, have the capacity to exhibit violence. And that the violence usually is something that escalates. Doesn't start off with like punches and blows. It starts with pushes, or it starts by cursing a motherfucker out.
Right.
Walking by him and you bump into him. You bump him back. Right. They push you, you push them back. She slaps you, you slap her ass back. She punches you, you punch her back. That's how DV typically goes, man.
Right.
That's the most common form. It's bivalent reciprocal violence. Okay? But the argument that a lot of women use is the same argument that this woman here uses, where it's disproportionate impact. Disparate impact. Where you're so much stronger than, a woman that it's unfair for you to ever, challenge her physically.
Even when we hit you and we're not supposed to. You're still built to take it. We're not built to not hit.
But you know what the argument is similar to? You know what it's similar to in my viewpoint?
What was that?
It's similar to the racial argument that black people feel less pain.
Yep.
Have you ever heard that argument? That doctors typically tend to think that they don't need to prescribe as much narcotics to black folks for like toothaches or other maladies or infirmities because they believe that like black people don't feel as much pain as white people. They can endure more torture.
Yeah.
And that's why they prescribe amputation more for blacks.
And I'm like, well, shit, you know, like, look, all I can say is, to me, it's the same kind of argument that black people don't feel as much pain, men don't feel as much pain.
Exactly.
And to me, that automatically objectifies maleness and basically it
your personhood.
It allows you to be used as a fucking either a punching bag or as a casualty or as someone who's supposed to take on a burden as a shield and aegis.
Right.
Can
for
I
somebody
add on
else.
to that, GG?
Wait,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. Before you add on,
Go ahead.
let them play it because we've been cooking for a little bit. And he said,
Yeah.
this
So
shit
yeah, let me play this shit, bro. Look, I'm gonna play about 10 more minutes of it and stop and go and stop. But
Not hit people. I don't like this.
Okay,
And
yes, that's true and all.
Projecting. Look, I'm projecting. I'm projecting because I've sat across a woman who says, I am just a girl. I should be able to hit men and they should be able to take it. And I'm projecting that onto you, and that's not right. I don't think if anyone hits you, you probably shouldn't be hitting back. Just generally, you should be calling the police.
Agreed.
But again, when boys hit each other, they don't call the police. There's no socialization for boys to perceive themselves as victims of anything.
Right.
Especially violence.
But the thing is, you're not really supposed to call the police because that we call that violence, but that also could be an element of social growth. How people understand how to grow with one another. Because as a child, you fought who you thought was, you know what I'm saying, bullies and enemies, then you turn out to be friends after y'all fought, right? You know what I mean? So it's that's something that
legally is called bad.
He ain't gonna ever have to get that experience. Had to get that experience because you know he got right. But those within traditional manhood,
But let's watch some more of this shit though. Let's not talk too much. Let's.
Agreed. I agree that nobody should be hitting anybody. But I'm telling you, as somebody that work in a school district, I do see young girls. First of all, women, we go through a lot with hormones, cycles start, and this, that, and girls be irritated.
See,
and
no. I'm just
yes, it's true, famous.
That sounds like a whole bunch of excuse. You should not be hitting anyone. There is no.
She did try to put the excuse out there. She did try to run one on Themis right there. She tried to run one on him.
She's been doing that the whole time. Sure.
There is zero excuse for a woman hitting a person, man or woman, who did not hit them.
Okay, fine. We can agree. We agree on that part. Okay, let's get back to the point. Boys, men should not be taught that if a woman get irate with you, that you can smack her back. It doesn't work out well for them. Number one, they're gonna be the ones get arrested. So why would you even teach a boy to hit or a man or anybody to hit a woman back? Because 9 times.
And just as a sidebar, just to let people know, there have been instances in which a man has called the police on a woman who's been violent with him, and then the police arrive on the scene and end up killing him and taking her to the hospital. And then they come to find out that she was the primary aggressor.
Yeah.
Let me keep pushing.
Times out of 10, the man is gonna be the one hauled off to jail. Even if she started it.
That's not okay. Oh my God, that is so not okay. You can't say.
But it's the truth.
So not okay.
Saying, if I hit you, you shouldn't hit me back because I'm going to be hauled off to jail. You shouldn't hit me back. You should call the police, and she should get hauled off to jail. You don't hit men, and men don't hit women. Like that should be.
That's a perfect world, Themis, but we don't live in that world. We actually live in a very violent world where people fight, people do hit each other, people get pissed and become violent. I'm saying in those scenarios, men need to practice restraint. They do not need to hit a woman back. They need to walk away. They'll be better off taking that hit and walking away than actually engaging with that woman.
And keep that bitch
and
violent.
This is
Look at the pains. Look at the pains.
Oh my goodness. What the fuck?
I'm gonna try to make this shit bigger. Hold on. Look at the pains.
I ain't even mad at that because fucking men.
This is and look, and I want to say this to Themis if he ever sees this, bro. Look here, man. Look, whether you gay or not, you still a man, bro.
Yeah, and that's affecting what that
At the end
traditional
of the day,
manhood.
look, the manosphere is a lot of shit. Sometimes it's uncouth. Sometimes the way that ideas and thoughts are expressed here is crass, and a whole host of other shit. But you can't say that black men are not having a whole bunch of fucked up experiences in family life and in interactions with women. Like, here's the issue, and this was my problem, right? We like to talk about women's issues as if the things that they undergo are only fucking happening to them. We act like they're the only ones undergoing violence or being subjected to violence, or that they're the only ones being subjected to sexual assault, extortion, theft, stalking, a whole bunch of weird and crazy shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but here's what we've done, I think, in this culture. We've created like a bifurcation, like a dichotomy, where we take evil and we say we want to explode binaries, but we've created a binary as it pertains to men and women. We created it in terms of moral propriety and impropriety and who does it. Somebody got a lot of background.
Off code, mute up, fam.
Yeah, so what we do is we've created like I'm trying to dumb it down so it doesn't sound so like esoteric.
Man, flow how you flow. Fuck
Okay, so
all that.
Pythagoras, he came up with like a list of qualities, the right and the oblong.
Okay.
Left and right, male and female. And he ascribed different qualities related to, this binary that he set up and established, okay? On the one hand, you had evil. The other, you had good. You had right-handedness and left-handedness. You had right angles, and then you had oblong angles and shit like this. Right. You had crooked lines, and then you had straight lines and shit like this. So he would take and ascribe positive qualities to one part of the binary and negative qualities to the other. Okay. I mean, but this has been a kind of common practice ever since something called Zoroastrianism or Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrian, yeah. Zoroastrian.
Right. So you got Abu Mazda, right, and then you got Ashatan. Like this would be the precursor to like good and evil related to God and the devil or whatever the case may be. Right. So Abu Mazda is the perfect embodiment of goodness and purity, and then you got like absolute evil. Okay. So it's like men right now are the oppressors, women are like the benevolent oppressed. And like they don't do anything aggressive, they don't do anything violent, they're not a source or cause of pathology, but men are. This is some newfangled shit. You don't start to see these kind of arguments until the 70s, the 60s and the 70s.
Right,
you don't see this shit.
But this is the thing, the way they had to lie to themselves.
Bro, you did not see this shit until second wave feminism, bro.
Right.
I mean, I'm not just saying that there's no precursors to it at all, but I mean, because, the sugar and spice and everything nice. Come on, bro. Like, look, anybody, let me just say this and then I'll move on and show some more of this video. But here's the thing. Boys' first experience with violence typically comes from their mothers, man. Their first experience phenomenologically with like being assaulted or being hit.
Yes.
It comes from their mothers.
An extension cord.
There's a reason why. Get your black ass in this motherfucking house before I beat your motherfucking ass. Like you can put the letters together and you'll know what they mean.
That is true.
And women don't have a problem doing it. Right? Like, have you seen too? I mean, I'm not gonna say that there's no women, who don't like pull back from assaulting their kids, but like corporal punishment whipping motherfuckers is a thing in the black community.
Whipping like a slave. Shit.
I'm gonna whip your ass. You don't come here, you give me a switch.
Get naked, lay down on the bed.
I'm gonna get your ass, get in the tub. And when you get out, I'm gonna whip your ass.
That's really barbaric.
I'm just saying, like, I done seen it, bro. I done experienced it.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so at the end of the day, you have to understand, you're teaching your children that violence is a way to punish people.
Yep.
In your own family. That's what you're teaching them. Now, I'm not saying that, corporal punishment under certain circumstances can't be a thing. Okay. I'm not saying that there should be none, but I mean, like, the scale and the frequency it's like.
But the fact that there were always instrumental alternatives taken towards disciplined children that was around that weren't being selected, that was the ill shit. That shows you the slavitude involved.
But I mean, we learned what we learned from the plantation, bro. Yeah. We learned what to do in family life from the plantation. Shout out to Barry Little. He says, isn't that the same rationale slave owners used against their slaves, that the slave had zero rights to self-defense no matter what was done? I've said this as well. There are two situations in which retaliation for wrongdoing is absolutely it's impermissible. A slave to his master and a child to his parent. Those are the only situations in which it is absolutely impermissible legally or socially to retaliate. But I mean, I guess there's this new category, right? Male and female. So like, so what does that make you, a master or a parent?
Ooh.
It's a question worth asking.
But then you're speaking of power dynamics, and now that gets back into the politics of it. But then when they start looking at the politics, then they have to look at those, like you said, that one professor that was in UK and noticed that it wasn't just white dudes that was doing all the aggression. It was also white women, and the history that we're told is that the bad white man of Europe. You know what I'm saying? And,
man, come
and that's
on,
what
bro.
And that's what you're showing, but you ain't never shown none the, what I'm saying, Becky's exploits.
Bro, let me show you.
Europe.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me stop sharing this screen real quick. Let me do this shit. Hold on. Let me show you. So that's why I always show this shit. Let me stop showing this right here because I can come back to that. I'm gonna show you this. Okay. Shout out to Scorpion Black. It says, "What up, GG? What's up? What's cracking with you?" So let me show this shit right quick. I always do show it, and it's something that needs to be seen. You see them women right there, man?
Yep, right there.
I'm just saying, these women are not innocent, man.
Right.
They are genocidal, slave owning murderers, man.
Yep.
And to think of them as anything less, like, what they did is permissible. Like, they really weren't there. They really didn't do this. Man, they're there at the lynchings, little girls and everything. They're there watching Negroes die, get killed and murdered, man. They're there yelling and shouting, preventing the segregation of schools. I guess they're not violent at all, huh? No aggression there, huh? Just pure little Lily Perfects. Looks like they're participating in some violent shit to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much more violent proof do you need? Proof of violence or some shit, or delight? And this is what you call sadism, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But they watched that of their characters, apparently.
Also,
to everybody else.
Shout out to Dr. Johnson. I see you out there, man. What's cracking with you, man? What's popping? But I mean, okay, so look, the Klan. What you think the Klan was just like a Christian organization? I mean, it was, but you act like the only activities that they engaged in were like handing out
flyers,
turkeys to the poor during Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. They was about burning them crosses, baby. And women got lynched too. Black women got lynched too. Now all of a sudden there's a sisterhood and shit.
Says a Sarah right there. That's Oklahoma, shit.
Them women don't look like they innocent to me. Man. I'm just saying they look like they mad as a motherfucker.
Was this during the days of Elvis?
Man, well, they got them. That's a little girl, man. That little girl can't be no more than fucking 2 years old, man. Getting trained to be part of the The culture of violence.
They dress the babies up in it. Damn.
They say states' rights.
Man,
Now you got niggas talking about states' rights. Now you got black people talking about, yeah, states' rights. When that shit was intentionally a code word for, hey, slavery. Look, we're not anti-Negro, we just anti-race mixing. Hey, look, we don't say we don't like, we just love white people. We don't hate black folks.
And look, all of them the whole time on the bus, that pussy open right there. Nasty host.
Well, it is what it is. But I mean, like, their point to me, the idea that white women are innocent, they have no blood on their hands, they're not part of violence and death and murder, is absolutely asinine. Given white women's participation in colonialism and slavery and Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, like Bill Burr said, now they get to swing their Gucci booty feet over the fence of oppression. Now all of a sudden they're victims. How the fuck did that happen? Like, how? And now everybody's hitching their wagon to issues created by white women.
Well, the thing is, when they first, I would suspect that they first initiated the break from what you see there with, I guess, those that were claiming to be, you know what I'm saying? First, those
Hold on, my bad. That's my bad.
Like, good. So, cause the thing is, that caused me the inquiry of where did they first make their break from this whole weird whiteness type of people into them being, you know what I'm saying, I guess a besieged sector of society.
Man, they fucking hijacked the civil rights movement, man. There's money in it. There's resources in it.
Is it just because niggas let them in? Is that what it is?
Man, this shit ain't difficult, bro. They took the shit for themselves. They took what black people got hosed down for, and they took it for themselves.
So they participated.
That's what they do, man. This is what they do, bro.
They participated as a white ally for the black cause until they moved up in rank, you know what I'm saying, aha style, and eventually started bringing their own cause behind the gain power of the black cause. You know what I'm saying? They UPN the nigga. So basically, that's all it was. Just and with that, let me share what it means to be a fellow person of persecution. You know what I'm saying? That's white women. All right, well, let's see what white women going through. Since we're all about all people and all humans and all this all bullshit, instead of trying to get these pilgrims into the correct pocket that they're supposed to be in, as far as acknowledging the 100% citizenship of the black citizens who ain't looking to overthrow this motherfucker, hurt none of them, harm. You know what I mean? Niggas just want to be Americans. They don't want niggas to be that kind of American.
At the end of the day, that's over with, bro. Like all the together, I think Dr. Ron O'Neal called it link fate. But let me. What I don't want to do is stay. Stay on this. Damn, I got rid of the fucking link, man. I gotta find my way back to it. God damn it, man.
You were very famous.
Yeah, I got rid of the link, so I can go back to it, man. I can find it. Demis and Thoth. Hold on.
Shout out for showing that frustration you were going through, man. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate that. Hold
on. Let me get this going again. Let me see. Present, share the screen. Black women's accountability is hell. There we go.
Have to gear it more towards the boys and the men, because they are the ones that are lacking in that area, and it can get so serious with them so quick in that area. So they should be the ones taught.
Pause. I have a question for you. We did move past little kids to grown adults during the conversation, right? Sometime.
Yes.
All right. So people in the chat that says she's only talking about kids, can you stop, because we were talking about both?
Yeah, we're talking about both.
Okay.
So I agree with you that nobody should hit anybody, but that is not the way it is in the world. So I'm saying women should teach their sons, starting at a tender age, do not hit a woman at all. At all. You're going to be the one more likely go to prison, go to jail, even if she initiated it. The police are going to come and haul you off 9 times out of 10. So it's true, so though. Much again.
That's some true shit though. Okay, so I mean,
Okay, yeah.
But I don't like the argument. I don't like the argument she's making, because to me it seems like she's not accepting responsibility for women being violent and that they can actually cause harm. To me, it just seems like she's saying that women, when they do assault men, the harm is innocuous. It never becomes lethal and all of this kind of shit. It's always relatively harmless, okay? That ties again back to me to the argument that like white people use against black people when it comes to pain. You really don't feel pain like we do.
Well, she acknowledges it's violence, though. That's the thing. It's not just that, first she said last shot or whatever. And it's different from, you know what I'm saying, like you said, you start off with a push or whatever. It's like, a hit. She'll I guess she's a teacher, and she's seeing these young girls hit these little boys and expecting them not to hit her back. And it's like, well, you ever thought about why is it that young girls hit? Not just, they're just going to hit. No one looked into that. It's just been the whole time, young girls are going to hit. So that means they're more fucking violent then. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean.
I perceive you get what you allow and permit for. You get what you sanction.
Yeah, but people don't say young boys are gonna hit though. You notice people don't say that. Well, young boys are gonna hit. No, they always said about young girls. Well, young girls are definitely gonna hit. Then they're fucking more violent. Clearly,
I think so. But it's already been established that women can be and are as violent as, especially in intimate partner relationships. I can't speak about across the board, but I am saying that, in terms of intimate partner relationships, the women are just as, if not more violent than their male partners. It is what it is. So let me read this. MC Recovering and Relapse says, Gigi, I got a cord whipping one day from mom's and went looking for someone to pick on. Me today. And I saw my mom's bang a skillet on dad's head at 8 years old. That's some hellified shit right there.
Ooh.
But we act as if it doesn't happen. And so, but black men have to pretend that it doesn't happen for what? The sake of what? And I'm gonna explain this in a minute, though. I don't want to be doing this shit all night. So what I'm gonna do is expedite by showing some more of this. So hold your horses, and I just want to get to a certain point.
Against them hitting a woman back, it's so much that can go wrong with on a man's behalf of just hitting a woman back that they should be taught under no circumstance don't hit her back.
If a woman hits you, don't hit her back.
Clemens, you wouldn't even hit a woman back if a woman hit you. So
I actually when I was in high school, I've never told this story, in Jamaica, there was a rumor that went around that this girl said she slept with me because I was like cool from the foreigner. And then they were all talking about it all over the school. She's the one who said it. And then she came to me and she was like, did I sleep with you? Tell them I didn't sleep with you. And I like, you didn't. And they still laughed at her, and she jumped on me with her claws, and she was like trying to scratch me to like fight. And I promise you, all I did was like backed her off, and she scratched somewhere on my neck once, and I was like grabbing her hands, but I never hit back. We went to the principal's office. Her mom came up there and she was yelling at me or whatever. She got suspended. Her mom got mad at me. I never touched her. We'd never whatever. And she came back, I think, later in life and apologized to me for it. I think she remembered it. So yes, I remember that one specific scenario where a woman attacked me.
Yeah.
I didn't hit her back. So I understand what you're saying.
But imagine what would have happened to you if you did hit her back, Themis. You would have got the worst end of the stick than she would have.
I agree, but I feel like I'm not saying, and this I guess I'm personalizing this.
The question is, should he receive the worst end of the stick? That's the point. Is it justifiable for a man to receive the worst end of the stick for having been assaulted and getting your ass up off him, even fucking slapping the shit out of you if you fucking decide to hit him? Anyway, let me keep pushing.
Because it did happen to me, but it seems odd that there is so much emphasis on don't hit back. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Right.
I already agreed that it shouldn't hit back. You should call the police, but I will never just, let me just be clear. I will never just agree that he shouldn't hit back. I'm going to say you shouldn't hit him. Like that's always going to be a follow-up.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I agree with that. That can be the foundation, but let's just, I'm in the elementary school district, so kids hit each other, and I'm saying
Do
the
not
boys.
stand with this is the real world. Because if you say this is the real world, I'm going to say boys are going to hit back. What we're asking about is what shouldn't happen. And when I hear what shouldn't happen, I'm saying we shouldn't be hitting each other because we're literally, you're saying we're in the real world, but we're literally trying to make the perfect world. We're trying to say what should and shouldn't happen. But when I say, and if this keeps happening where you're like, men shouldn't hit women, I agree, but they do. And I don't say the but they do part. I just agree that men shouldn't hit women. And
But
then
they do.
yeah. And then you are saying women, I'm saying women shouldn't hit men. And you keep doing the but they do part. So like we end up at nowhere.
But they do. We have to put but they do part because that's what's
No, we
happening.
don't. Because like if say men shouldn't, tell me men shouldn't hit women.
What'd you say?
Women back. Say to me, men shouldn't hit women.
Men should not hit women.
But we live in the real world, they hit them. You see how pointless that is?
Oh, it's not pointless. It's true. Like they do hit them back. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, how useful is that? Say it again to me and then tell me how useful it is.
Okay, I'm just.
No, say it to me. No, I actually want you to say it to me again. Say men shouldn't hit women.
Men should not hit women, but they do.
Yeah, but they do.
And I'm saying that all I'm saying, Theme, is this is what I'm saying. Black women, teach your sons not to hit women. They're going to grow up to be men, and they're going to unalive a woman.
Wait, but they do. Do you see why that's not?
There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted to be stated. That's what I wanted people to hear. That's what I wanted to be said. Okay? Because black men are going to end up unaliving women, black women. There it is right there. Let me play some more.
Helpful at all. But we live in the real world and they do.
Oh.
See, that's what I'm saying. We're teaching, what we're doing is we're saying we want everyone to act in a very specific way. And I agree that men shouldn't hit women. Even if they do, it doesn't matter that they do. What we're saying is that they shouldn't hit women. In the same way, when I say women should not hit men, but they do is useless to me, and we live in the real world is useless to me because I am saying they shouldn't.
Themis, I am saying that men should not hit women because it becomes even more violent as they get older. Boys should not hit women because it becomes even more violent as they get older.
All right, pause. So should women hit men because it doesn't get more violent?
It doesn't get more violent with women.
No. Answer the question. Should women hit men because it...
Do you see that shit?
Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, do you see it? Do you see this shit? So look.
Put the bomb at.
No, don't. I ain't gonna put the bomb out there yet. But do you see it though?
Yeah. Already.
Do you? Now, I'm not saying that every woman thinks like this, but there are a lot of women that do. It's a lot of feminists that think like this. I'm gonna explain why. Let me keep rolling. I'm gonna let it roll for about 2-3 more minutes.
It doesn't get more violent.
No, women should not hit men.
Exactly. So wait. So it's not about whether or not it gets more violent.
It is about that. It is about that.
So should women hit men because it doesn't get more violent?
Well, women should not hit men
Why?
Because you just don't hit people, because you, like you said, you never know how people will respond to you,
Exactly. And why can't we just say that?
because that's not the real world.
Again, we're back to the real world. I told you this is not going to be helpful.
Okay, Themis, you realize people get in fights in nightclubs, bars. So just trying to eliminate violence is not realistic because we live in a violent society.
Now, listen to this motherfucker say that we can't get rid of violence because we're living in a violent society, but we want your motherfucking nigga ass to never commit acts of violence while being subjected to violence.
While being subjected
We
to
don't
it.
have to show no goddamn restraint, what the fuck soever.
Right.
But you got to show all the restraint. In other words, you have to be more moral. You have to have more control than we have.
Mm-hmm. Based off the fact that they're a woman.
Now tell me how fair that. But this is supposed to be an equitable society, though. Asada, what's cracking? Asada, you there?
Calling Mrs. Shakur.
Asada, are you there? Anyway, look. Let me keep going.
So we have to talk about if. We have to talk about the if, because that's what's happening. So if a woman hits you, don't hit them back, is what I'm saying.
But we live in the real world.
Okay.
No, I'm doing what you did to me, and I'm showing you that that's not a good answer. It's not a useful answer.
What them is acting like violence should not occur is not a useful answer either, because
Oh, so
You are acting that you don't want violence to occur to you, motherfucker.
So accept violence. Let matter of fact, not just accept violence.
Look,
Let us be violent.
We can be violent. She's not saying that it's okay to be violent, but in the incident in which violence does occur, you must not touch us.
Okay, wait a minute, but it'll grow. Okay, at her point, let's say that girls aren't supposed to be called out on their violence. All right. Doesn't it grow into something a little bit more violent? Like if they're going to hit, and that's already violence, but it's already been generalized to the point to where, well, it's just something that they do. At
Bro,
what
this
point,
is
you know what I mean?
this is not unique to this woman, man.
I know it ain't unique
She
to
ain't
it.
this shit here is not unique to this one woman, bro.
Right.
This is an argument that a lot of women make, and I'm gonna tell you why. Hold on, but I just want her to make one more statement.
want violence to occur, but you only want violence to occur from the woman to the man.
if you want to put it like that, fine. Because at the end of the day, we're not gonna unalive you.
Okay,
There
and
you
that's
go.
not-
At the end of the day, we're not gonna unalive you. We're not gonna kill you.
Wow.
That's all. At the end of the day, she'll say it again.
okay. It does not have to be as extreme as analyzing someone. That should not happen at all, the analyzing people. But because you're not analyzing people doesn't mean you should be hitting people. It
Okay.
is not just as wrong, but it is wrong enough for the line to be drawn at you should not be hitting anyone either.
All right. I mean, that's the
agree.
foundation. Yes, no one should hit anybody,
But
but it happens. And when it does happen, we have to teach our boys more self-control.
We gotta teach the boys. I'm gonna tell. Look, let me. Okay, so I'm done with this shit. I'm done with it. Look,
look at Davis. Hey, yo, Davis, yo, I salute you, cuz, for real. You tried.
Hey, look. Let me just say this shit. Like, look, I understand why. Okay, so here's the argument, right? I'm gonna explain it. From an ethical perspective, I think that Demis is coming from a deontological standpoint. If anybody understands deontology, they'll know that it is an ethical theory that states that you should act by principles of action that you can universalize for all.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can't make up a rule that only applies to you, but it has to apply to everyone.
Right.
For all
Gigi.
times. Asada, what's going on? I'm glad you were able to join.
I thought my mic wasn't still working. I didn't think you were going to be up here. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, but I'm glad you're here though. I will refer to you later. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
But deontology is a ethical theory. Okay, or an ethical position that says that if you act, you have to act by a principle of action that you could universalize for all. So that means if you're gonna hit people, you have to allow for other people to hit your ass back. If you lie, you have to allow for other people to lie. If you steal, you have to allow for other people to steal. Okay? Now the question is whether or not you can actually carry out these principles. Is it okay to steal? Would you want to live in a world where everyone operates under these principles? No. Well, if not, you can't do it. It's not enough for you to tell other people, well, I can do it, but you can't. No, you cannot universalize it. But here's her argument, right? And I don't think she uses it because, if she did go to college and study, ethical theory, she really didn't, keep a hold of what she should have, okay? So there's another theory called utilitarianism. And that theory says you should act on principles of action that maximize pleasure and that minimize pain for the greatest amount of persons possible, okay? So in my viewpoint, Themis is making, in this instance, he's making a deontological argument about what shouldn't be done and what you could universalize and what, not violating the dignity of persons and so forth. So I think that's where he's standing. But on the other hand, this woman is saying that in relation to violence, men create more damage than men. So therefore, men should not hit women because it's going to create more damage. It's going to create more pain than the inverse. Okay? So those are the arguments that are on the table. Okay? Now, my viewpoint, of course, is anybody knows ethical theory, there are weaknesses to both deontology and utilitarianism. Okay? But the unique weakness of utilitarianism is that it allows for the sacrifice of a small amount of persons in order to bring about the greatest happiness for a larger amount of people. So in such a theory, slavery is justifiable if more people benefit from it and have pleasure over it. Torture.
Right.
Like segregation, like sexual assault. If there's more men there and there's one woman there, fuck it.
Right.
It's 10 of us is one of you. So fuck it. We may as well just be able to have our way. It's more pleasure for us.
Smurfed her out. Smurfed her out.
So but the problem is, of course, that there's like an inherent problem with utilitarianism because it allows for the violation of dignity.
Right.
Whereas one could argue there's like a kind of superior move being made within the deontological theory that it's wrong to violate somebody's dignity. Okay. Now, I'm more of a deontological theorist, especially as it pertains to this issue. But not only that, I would also like to point out the fact that this woman is inaccurate, and Dr. Johnson said this earlier. It'd be different if it was the case that women never unalive men. Black women do kill black men, and there have been times in history where black women have killed men more in intimate partner relationships than women. Men have been killed more in intimate partner relationships with black women during certain time frames than the other way around. That's just the fact. Those are the facts. Now, if you want to know what period it was, I will demonstrate to you right now what period it was, and I'm going to show Dr. Curry, because he recently gave a talk on this issue. But I also have a clip from, and I show this quite often on my channel, from Ishmael Reed. I'm going to show it first, and then I'm going to get to Curry, and then But I also want to get Asada though. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show this short clip.
It's about a black woman who can't walk down the street in safety. I lived in Boston for 9 years. In 1979, 12 black women were murdered in a 4-month period in Boston. I lived in Roxbury. That is a black community in Boston. What did it mean to me and to every black female and black man in Boston that 12 black women were murdered precipitously during that period? That's what black feminism is about, to try to explain that.
I'll tell you what, Jet Magazine, which I read every week.
I do too.
And which is very reliable, published some Justice Department statistics that show that more black men are being killed by women than the other way around.
Wow, that was in the 80s when niggas
That's
run
the
shit.
80s.
Niggas
Now,
run
when
shit
I
in the
say
80s.
that, the feminists get emotional. They say, well, that's not true. It must have been because of self-defense. But I think that men should stop killing women.
They should stop killing each
Women
other.
should stop killing men.
And black men should stop killing each other
should not be
too.
singled out as the repository of all evil in the world. And I think we agree on that.
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna show that because it's gonna start to get into some copyright shit if I play it out. But the whole point is, that was the late 80s, early 90s. And that's Ishmael Reed having a conversation with Barbara Smith. Barbara Smith is a black feminist who was a member of the Combahee River Collective. Okay?
Wow.
I perceive the Combahee River or the Combahee River Collective to be the precursor to intersectionality. That's just me. I think it's because it's the point at which they begin to argue that there are multiple forms of oppression that black women suffer from. And then that makes it easier for Kimberly Crenshaw to come along later on and say that there's interlacing or interlocking forms of oppression that black women suffer from, which means that, quite frankly, additively and intuitively, you would assume that they're more oppressed on that account, okay? So not only are they women, but they're black women, okay? And but the list goes on. You could be a black woman who's gay or a black woman who's poor and gay. You know what I'm saying? So a black woman with a disability who's poor and gay, So,
if you
who's
think
more
about
oppressed?
it is something like a social stock, social worth. If you think about it, let's say they pull their blackness away from the black pool, but they can still dilute it, cut it down a little bit. So let's segment this, particular blackness that they got. All right, a woman, LBG, blah, 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 all that, single mother, all this other kind of victim thing. If you think about it, that's what it seems like. That's what it's largely been with
But
politics.
it's been this way. Look, let me say this shit. Let's just be frank about this. The reason that this kind of thinking had emerged during the time in which it did was precisely because there was a growing way to capitalize off the Civil Rights Act of 1964 related to sex. Okay, so people were like, okay, well, there's a law and there's policy being drafted centered around sex in this new law. Okay, I'm going to, based upon my identification as a woman who's black and gay or whatever, I'm going to utilize the means that exist or the mechanisms in place in order to enfranchise myself as much as I possibly can.
Yep.
And I will use, and let's just be frank about it. These women are using white academic literature in order to make their points. Because, what other literature are they going to have to draw from? Black people didn't write this tradition.
Right.
So the only tradition they're going to be able to draw from is the white scholars who developed the tradition themselves. White women. And look, I know I've read a lot of fucking feminist philosophy. I'm not saying like I read more than, some people who, teach it as their AOS, but I definitely am competent to teach that shit. Okay? So having said all that, the only thing I'll say is this, right? There's some features and functions of feminism that I think are okay, but I think some of it goes too far. Dominant feminism to me goes way too fucking far. Catherine McKinnon goes too far to me. Andrea Dworkin goes too far to me. Okay? Like people like Nancy Fraser or Iris Marion Young, I fuck with them. I I can read their work and not be like, okay, well, this misandry here, misandry. Some of this shit you read is blatant hate and, you know, like a kind of glossing over or an eclipsing over of black men, as if none of the shit that they're complaining about themselves happens to anybody but them. I just don't understand it. How can you be so fucking blind? I mean, and here's the kicker, right? At the same time that these women, and this is what Curry points out, at the same time these women were drafting these laws and developing these policies to protect themselves from abuse in intimate partner relationships and shit like that, black men were dying more than any other fucking demographic related to intimate partner homicide. But now you got a woman talking about how, like, our violence doesn't unalive you, but your violence unalives us. But the numbers don't add up. The reality, see, you can make a moral argument or you can talk about the world. And my problem is a lot of this shit, feminist philosophy is philosophy. I have a PhD in philosophy, okay? And I know the weaknesses associated with philosophy. I know how to, you know, I know ethics. I can teach it. I'm competent to teach it and shit. There are some problems associated with theorization as opposed to like making a matter-of-fact statement about the world. And I think a lot of times these women make moral arguments and present them as if they're a fact about the world. And that's just fucked up. You can't, I mean, you get, apparently you can do it, but it's erroneous to do. It's fallacious to do. It's an error in reasoning to do that shit. And they continuously do it. And then they don't even speak the facts. Like, the fact is that women kill men all the fucking time. Oh, well, women don't unalive men. What fucking world do you live in? Women unalive each other. They unalive children. Like, what the fuck that you don't get about this shit? I don't understand it. Like, what world are you fucking living in? But to me, all this shit boils down to a narrative and a form of discourse which basically pathologizes masculinity, right? And perceives it as a source of oppression, domination, and violence, and ignores all other forms of violence and domination in plain sight. You just gloss over it. You don't even look at it. It's like, okay, well, you know, well, somebody got shot and killed. Woman killed him. Oh, well, what did he do? That's the first thing to say it. Oh, she must have been acting in self-defense. Oh, it had to be, well, she was just feeling a certain kind of way. Well, what happened in her childhood? What were the social circumstances surrounding, you know, the act and all? Everybody wants to think about, like, how to humanize her victimizing, as opposed to, like, when it's a male, it's just errant and abhorrent. That's a problem. Chocolate Man, first of all, you have to know what the fuck you're talking about. If you look at history, if you look at certain trends in history, there are facts about the world that you can look at. There are statistics related to death and dying, related to intimate partner homicide that have been taken for decades. Now, first of all, I have a doctoral degree and I understand arguments very well. What I'm saying is not that, you know, in the case of intimate partner homicide, there was a 15, 20-year run where black women were killing their husbands and their spouses and significant others than the other way around. That's the fucking facts, man. It is what it is. If you don't fucking like it, don't like reality. Just don't fucking like reality. $1,000, man, get the man, motherfucker. You gotta be kidding, bro. You gotta be kidding. I'm about to show you the stat right now in a video. You fucking asshole. Give me find out who this nigga is so I can get this money. Cause I'm about to pull this shit up. Find this nigga. Find out who that fucking nigga is so I can get this money. Trace that nigga down, because I'm going to stay on this fucking head until I get my goddamn money. I swear to God. Stay on this motherfucker's head, man, so I can get this bread. I swear to God, bro. I swear to fucking God. I'm about to show you the statistic right here in the video. Bro, I've been making arguments all fucking day. Do you have a PhD? Do you have research? But whoever you are, bring your ass up here. Let me see who man, I want to talk to you. Bring your ass on up here.
Hey, there you go.
Bring it on. Come your ass on up here. Since you want to be all high and mighty and shit. You know what I'm saying? You want to be all high and mighty and shit.
You always get the haters.
He said he gonna give me $1,000. Motherfucker, I want my $1,000, bro. I want my $1,000, bro.
Of what that means in terms of how we look at group differentiation. Now, many of us grew up on the backs of an intersectional calculus. We've suggested that the combination of terms could help us clarify and better understand both the subjective positionality of groups as well as their political outcomes and their needs for remedy. However, as Coles and Pasek show, that's not really the case. When we're differentiating how we look at people, Black men are high in masculinity. And this is why I say that masculinity or Black maleness is a deleterious category. Because all the negative stereotypes, promiscuity, danger, violence, deviance, low intelligence, are going to be concentrated not simply on Black men because of their race, but also because of their sex. And it's as you get higher up, Black people in general are less masculine, Black women are more masculine than white women, and white people, but nonetheless, far less masculine than Black men. So masculinity is a necessary condition for pathologization, right, and demonization. Now, if you look, of course, on the white scale, look at the gap of masculinity and gender concept. So what we see is that in line with the previous research that racial stereotypes are driven by their perceptions of men, you see that racialized males are part of the origin and core of how we think about the racial situation. It compresses racial difference because of masculinity, whereas you see an expansion of it with white people. You see high levels of femininity and female differentiation. So this also explains why Black women would be invisible to a certain extent, because they're compressed next to their relationship and proximity to Black males, both in concept and in terms of their closeness. Now, for many people, they would say, well, this is nice theoretically. You've made a case for why we're misperceiving the Black male in concept and what that means for us in thinking them as a group in a relation to the rest of society. And usually when we have these arguments, it never fails. We go back to one thing, but they're dangerous to the people in their own. Right? So let's take a look at that, shall we? Are Black men then, must we think of them, maybe not as a threat to the dominant society, but to the people most closely associated to them? Now, I like these charts. I like data. Now, here's something that we've never tried to explain. Why is it that we look at the ratio of homicides of intimate partner victims from 1976 to 1990? Why are Black men the biggest victims of intimate partner homicide in the United States? Why are they being killed by their spouses?
Did you see that?
Nobody knows.
You fucking bitch. Hold on, wait a minute.
Interesting.
Let me go back.
The theories by Ellen Pence, the Duluth model, was written in 1983.
Hold on, let me go back.
Intersectionality was, or at least mapping the margins, was authored in 1989. And it suggested that we ignore.
Hold on, let me go back.
Of what that means in terms of how we look at group different.
Let me go back. So he got a chart on the screen.
Something that we've never tried to explain.
Intimate partner homicide, 2000, BJS special report in 1998, FBI supplement. Go fucking look at it. Where my $1,000 at, man? We about to look up this shit. Fuck that. I want my goddamn money.
Perhaps they've left.
Intimate partner homicide 2000 BJS special report and 1998 FBI supplement. The dude Ishmael Reed just said when he was having a conversation with Barbara Smith that basically during his time frame he looked at the justice, the Bureau of the Justice, the Bureau of Justice, and looked at the stats, and it said that more women are killing men than the other way around. And she didn't fucking deny it. Go look at the intimate partner homicide 2000 BJS special report and 1998 FBI fucking supplement. Go look at the shit. And this ain't to say that only black women are doing evil shit. All we saying is that, look, we got to look at the shit objectively, which motherfuckers like you want to deny that anything ever happens pathological from this goddamn demographic. And that's some bullshit. Where my $1,000 at? Go look at the intimate partner homicide 2000 BJS Bureau of Justice Statistics special report and 1998 FBI supplement. Go look at it. He got trends from various years. And this ain't to say that like black men don't do fucked up shit. Yes, they do fucked up shit. But so do women. But this idea that black women just don't do shit and it's all just men doing shit, like black women never fucking murder and kill.
I mean, that's gangster though. That's the thing. At what point does the freedom and the liberty of feminism not turn them into, you know what I'm saying, a gangster's aspect with that? Where
see, this is right. This is why I do the work. This is why I do the work I do.
Yeah.
Because basically, motherfuckers will try to tell you you're lying. And that the research that you've done is a farce. But see, what they do is they continuously push and push and push and pump up their shit. Now, I'm saying there's been an uptick in intimate partner homicide with men against women. There has been. But it ain't always just been the case that like black men just unaliving women in huge proportions. Come on, man.
Let them tell it happens every 5 minutes.
We trying to get at the truth of what the fuck is happening in the black so-called community, and y'all worried about pushing fucking narratives from white bitches and shit. That's the problem I got. You more interested in pushing a narrative from white bitches and shit. So you can get close to Miss Ann. So you can, you know, breastfeed the fucking kids or something. The fuck wrong with y'all, man? But anyway, I'm gonna keep showing this shit. Let me keep showing it, man.
Why is it that we look at the ratio of homicides of intimate partner victims from 1976 to 1990? Why are black men the biggest victims of intimate partner homicide in the United States? Why are they being killed by their spouses? Nobody knows.
Or they don't care, or they overlook it, not like it ain't happening. Or it never did happen. Oh, it can't be that.
Here's what I do find interesting. The theories by Ellen Pence, the Duluth model, was written in 1983. Intersectionality was, or at least mapping the margins, was authored in 1989. And it suggested that we ignore the economic and political position of black women in relationship to domestic abuse. Now, the National Family Violence Survey was authored in 1976, and it shows exactly these numbers that are being reported here.
Hey, the National Family Violence Survey, Chocolatey, where the fuck are you? Hey, Chocolatey. Chocolatey.
For the love
where you
of
at,
money.
Chocolate? Sexy Chocolate, where you at? Chocolatey. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We know where you at. I want that G. I want that motherfucking G, man. I need that rack. I need that. Hey, Chocolate Tay, I need that rack, eh? Go on, give me that rack, eh?
Run it.
Right, hey, why don't you run me that rack, eh?
Put some on it. They can put some on it.
Hey, rack, eh? Where my money at, man? Chocolate, eh? Where my bread at? He just told you right there where you can get the right the information. You want to hear it again? Rack, Chocolate, eh?
Now, the National Family Violence Survey was authored in 1976.
The National Family Violence Survey, 1976. Go fucking read it, Chocolate, eh? Yeah, don't time him out. I gave you the invite. You could have came up.
And save some money.
This is not no fucking interpretation of no goddamn data. Fuck interpretation. Either the numbers add up and say this is what happened or it fucking didn't. Give me my fucking bread. But you ain't got no honor, so you ain't gonna give me the fucking bread. Fucking lame. This the sort of shit I hate. Bitch motherfucker, that's why we call y'all bitch made.
Get 'em.
This is why I consider you to be bitch made. This is why I don't fuck with your kind. Motherfucker, I gave you the place where you can go get the fucking data. I gave you the place where you can get the fucking data. Numbers don't lie. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't fucking lie. But anyway, man, back to the regular scale.
Is that Dr. Curry?
And it shows exactly these numbers that
Yeah, that's Dr. Curry. Be quiet though right now.
are being reported here. So at the same time that you have white feminists through Duluth making the argument that patriarchy is the cause of intimate partner violence or domestic violence, what Bell Hooks will later call domestic terrorism, you have plenty of evidence to show that that variation is not necessarily the case within the black community. As you can see for the first diagram, black men and white women are almost killed at the same rate, at least in the 1970s, the latter 1970s. Now, if you want to break that down by per 100,000 from 76 to 1990, look at that curve of black male. 16 per 100,000, 12 per 100,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The victimization of black men by domestic violence, statutory rape, we're going to get on to all this, in this section, has largely been erased from our concepts and from our theorization. Hell, some authors even argue that the spectacular deaths of black men stop us from understanding domestic violence and sexual assault within the black community. Never stopping from one moment to think, well, what if some of those victims, dare I say, are black males themselves? This suggests to us not only a dishonesty in terms of how we're dealing with the actual situations that create violence and actual trauma in black communities itself, but it suggests to us that we erase a whole subset of.
Hey man, somebody go look at the 1976 survey, man, for family. Go look it up. Somebody go get this nigga. Somebody go get this chocolate bomb motherfucker. The goddamn actual data. Bro, look, I've taught the philosophy of science. I know exactly how to interpret data, my guy, or my gal, whoever you are. I don't know. But man, fuck you anyway. You ain't about to give up a rat. Fuck you. You ain't about to give up no rat. You ain't trying to give up no rat. You ain't trying to give up a rat. Bring your ass up here. I already left the motherfucking link in the chat. Get your bum ass out of here.
No heart.
Fuck up out of here.
No heart.
You're a sucker. Trying to derail the conversation. Fucking bum. Fuck them on out of here.
As you can see for the first diagram, black men and white women are almost killed at the same rate, at least in the 1970s, the latter 1970s. Now, if you want to break that down by per 100,000 from 76 to 1990, look at that curve of black male. 16 per 100,000, 12 per 100,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The victimization of black men by domestic violence, statutory rape, we're going to get all to all this, in this section, has largely been erased from our concepts and from our theorization. Hell, some authors even argue that the spectacular deaths of black men stop us from understanding domestic violence and sexual assault within the black community. Never stopping from one moment to think, well, what if some of those victims, dare I say, are black males themselves? This suggests to us not only a dishonesty in terms of how we're dealing with the actual situations that create violence and actual trauma in black communities itself, but it suggests to us that we erase a whole subset of victims that we're not allowed to see. We impose upon black males the motivation to harm others. We impose upon them the role of the perpetrator, despite the evidence. So black men in the United States generally experience rates of intimate partner violence and intimate partner homicide higher than other race sex groups in the United States, right? So we're looking at 2017 data. Actually, the new data just came out a few months ago. It makes the same claim, the same point. When you're looking at 12-month prevalence of contact sexual violence, physical violence, and stalking by an intimate partner for black, it's 11.6%, and that is higher both than black women's 12-month prevalence in the same data set at 9.4% and white women's prevalence rate of 5.7%.
All right, that's not interpretation.
Oh, chocolate.
That's not interpretation.
Oh, chocolate. Brother Grizzly, man, look, I know who you are, man. You that infantry skills motherfucker, I think. I don't know who you are, man. I don't know who this dude is, but he gone too. Fuck this whole ass nigga. Gone, bitch. Gone, whole ass nigga.
Right, it's a warpath, y'all better, you know what I'm saying?
You seeing it right there. Lawrence A. Grenfield, violence by inmates, analysis of data on crimes by current or former spouses, boyfriends, and girlfriends. Washington, D.C., U.S. Bureau of Justice, 1998? And Callie Marie Renson. You seeing the data right here on the screen. You looking at it. Sarah G. Smith and others. The National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. 2010-2012 State Report. National Center for Injury Prevention and Control. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 2017. Bitch ass niggas. What the fuck you want to see?
God damn.
Go look at the article. Go read the article. This is why niggas are behind the curve, man. Cause y'all use what white people tell you without any research or data at all, and then you just put it as if it's the fucking truth.
But that ain't slavery.
We got data from motherfucking the National Institute, the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey also, and then we got the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and shit, and then all of a sudden y'all say, oh, well, show me the data. Go look at the motherfucking data yourself. We giving you the sources. But you don't give a fuck about the sources at all.
Now, of course, you're going to have differentiations in number because of population size, but in terms of how often this occurs, this is an adjusted rate, right? And historically, as we just saw through the graphs, black men have experienced the highest rates of intimate partner violence and intimate partner homicide among men from 1976 to 1990, right? So it means that when we're discussing the question of black male vulnerability, what are the forms of violence that black males are subjected to and have to resist? Intimate partner violence and homicide is part and parcel of that calculation. Now, this is what it looks like if I'm just pulling this in terms of the raw charts. Now, you're of course going to see a disproportionate amount of violence, and this fits with part of the intersectionality thesis, right? That, if we combine categories, race, class, gender, we will see disproportionate effects of violence in different populations. And that holds true, of course, when you're looking at blacks, you're looking at American Indian, Native Alaskan, and multiracial groups. It's interesting that it doesn't work for Asian or Pacific Islander, right? But you can expect both in lifetime and 12-month to see some kind of differentiation compared to whites. But this is what's often left out. When you look at black men, you see the same kind of compounding effect.
God damn.
That race produces a certain kind of vulnerability to intimate partner violence, right? Yet we don't discuss this. There's not a single article written by an intersectional feminist or analyst that tries to understand the kind of vulnerability that's produced when racialized men are subjected to higher or have higher prevalence rates than most men and most women, female groups. We ignore it because, again, we don't believe that these groups of men can be vulnerable to this form of violence, certainly not at the hands of a woman. So Pence's argument that men use domestic violence to oppress women was more a product of ideology and selection bias. And I like to include this quote from Ellen Pence herself because...
And that's it. That's all I clipped from Curry. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the reality is that, you know, like a lot of motherfuckers are complaining about what men are doing, but women are doing the same shit. That's the problem. That's the issue. That's the issue. What's up, Officer Faulkner?
Woo, what's up?
Woo, what's going on with you, man?
Nothing much. Seemed like Dr. Carey speaking what I spoke for years.
Look, you a police officer. You in the streets. You see this shit happening every day. But right now, man, all I can say is we got a lot of haters, man, because, look, I didn't come here to throw shade at Themis for real. But, because I'm pretty sure I could if I go through some of his videos. Because I personally, I think that, you know, like he's a feminist and some of the feminist shit is propaganda. It's all based on moral arguments and not real for real data. But they'll tell you you're lying.
Women are
and then, like, the only shit that's happening pathologically in the black community or black family life is from men to women. And that's just a crock of fucking bullshit. And shout out to Vector for getting me that rack of ribs. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate that. He said, I got you a rack of ribs, GG. Shout out to him, man. Appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And then Mr. He hit me up again, though. Passport OG said, dunk on him, GG. Hey, man, fuck that dude, man. Or that chick, whoever the fuck she is. I don't have, hey, look. Hey, look, I don't fuck with them and that other chick talking about, you put your hands on me, I'm going to slap the fucking shit out of you.
Yeah, I've never
How about that? Like I'm like motherfucking Humpty Hump back in the old day. If you hit me, I will hit you back.
Smack me and I'll smack you back.
I'm gonna tell you, I was never raised with that. My parents both
Rest in
said,
peace, Shock G.
if a person puts you in a position where you feel threatened, you defend yourself. If it's a female, just like I told my son, I don't believe in that she's a girl shit. Because guess what? Girls tend to carry more weapons than men. So he could easily pull out a blade.
Man, a chick will kill you, man. A woman will kill you, man. You know what I'm saying? Look, a woman
But it
will
ain't really
kill
a
you, man.
killing if she do it. Is it really a killing if she do it?
Not really. Shit,
You know,
just another
what
nigga
the
dead.
fuck?
You know, I know tonight I'm going to talk about it on my channel about that little case up there in Chicago with the woman and her 14-year-old son.
So look, look. Let me. I got to show some people something, right? Because people don't understand like basic concepts. Sometimes I don't understand why, but it just seems like to me sometimes people just don't understand basic concepts, right? So one of the things that I did recently, I think, let me see if I can look into the archives of what I got going on all of my content on my website. Lifetime versus 12-month prevalence. That's one of the things. And then also people need to understand that different populations have different numbers of persons in them. And due to that fact, like it might be 10,000 people in a town or 1,000 people in a town, okay? Now, if you got 10 people in town A committing acts of violence, whereas you got 1,000 or 2,000 people in town B with a population of 10,000 people committing acts of violence, you have to adjust the rate, you know, based upon the number of people in the population.
Right.
So in actuality, like, let's say, let me reverse that. So let's say in town A, there's 20 people committing acts of violence, whereas in town B, there's 10,000 people, but only 100 people are committing acts of violence. More violence is happening in town A, even though the population is smaller. So you would have to develop an adjusted rate in order to demonstrate like the percentage of how many people are actually being engaged in violence in that town. The numbers are smaller, but more of a proportion of that population is engaged in violent acts. Whereas in town B, if it's 10,000 people and only like 100 people are doing, you know, engaged in the acts of violence, that proportion is going to be smaller. That percentage is going to be smaller.
I mean that there's a social quality that you got to take into consideration with the equation there, not just the population of people.
That's why they came up with the term per capita.
Exactly. That's the difference. That's exactly what per capita means. So adjusted rates are just adjusting for population number and percentages related to populations. Okay. So, and look, at the end of the day, all that Dr. Curry is pointing out that in 12 months and people don't understand 12 months prevalence either. Like 12 months, I even did, like I wrote a fucking article on my website about 12 months prevalence. So I'm gonna leave a link to that so people can see it. The difference between lifetime and 12 months prevalence. Just basic statistical concepts. Let me see. That's it right there.
Now you got me thinking about that shimmy Cocoa Puff song now.
Yeah. We chocolate crossover. Yo, man, that's
so at the end of the day, the only thing I did about this is, man, look, we act like violence is only happening in one way. And that the violence is like these crazed, maniacal, pathological black men going out just offing motherfuckers. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen at all, but we are saying it also happens the other way around as well. And the whole idea that only men are doing this shit is it's a lie.
But it's convenient.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say it's convenient, but I mean, come on, bro. Like, at the end of the day, let me get rid of this thing right now, man. Let me get rid of that. So, at the end of the day, nobody should be hitting anybody. Like Thema says, I don't think nobody should be hitting anybody. But to act as if only black men have to bear the weight of all of this, like there's no dysfunction happening in the entirety of the community, that's all bullshit, man.
Right.
It's nonsense. And shout out to Mr. Heat again, like I said, and shout out to Black Vulcan 21. We all know government agencies want to make black men look good. Yeah. Well, Troy West, man, if you want Negroes to be perfect, man, you go ahead and go what's the name of that shit? Wakanda? Go ahead and fuck with Wakanda, bro. Where all the black people are perfect, man, and they all sit around and they eat, you know, I don't know what the fuck, they hors d'oeuvres and shit. Grey Poupon and shit, you know, they all got Bentleys and shit. Go ahead and fuck with them, man. Go ahead. Go get your black excellence, bro.
All day.
All day long, man. You know, the only thing I'm trying to point out is, you know, like this shit ain't one-sided. This is why, like, I got all these quick facts and these quick picks that I use, man. Like for example, Murray Strauss. I showed this the other day. Check him out.
The bottom line is that in partner violence and domestic violence, women assault their partners. About the same percent of women assault their partners as men. It's not the same percent are not injured. Women are more often injured, but that doesn't change the fact that women attack as often as men.
So that's Murray Strauss. Like, Murray Strauss has like been doing like family violence research for 40 years. You know what I'm saying? He's deceased now, but this is what else he has to say.
What is the and the reactions to lectures like these? We understand that you've been censored, things like that.
Yes, generally people refuse to believe it. despite a lot of scientific evidence showing that these are the facts. In fact, overwhelmingly, 230 studies as of a couple of months ago. And people refuse to believe it. It can't be true. Everyone knows that everyone is supposed to know that men do this, and men do it, but so do women.
So, what are the practical conclusions of these kind of researches? What do you call to change in the world?
The main practical conclusion stems from the fact that when women assault a partner, they put themselves at great risk. They've set the example.
Try me. I won't mess. I promise you. I promise you.
Get out! Bitch!
Yeah. If we're going to end violence against women, we have to take steps to end violence by women.
Well put.
Come on, man. I mean, I'm not. We're not saying some shit that's radical here. It's just common sense. I mean, but we basically said, hey, look, you know, this is a male problem. Women don't do this. But all the evidence suggests that that's a lie. It's a lie. Here's Dutton.
The most common pattern of domestic violence, time after time, is bilateral violence, two-way violence, matched for level of severity. That is, with each person using just as potentially injurious and severe actions as the other person. The second, and that's about 50%, by the way, of all domestic violence reports are bilateral. The second most frequent pattern of domestic violence is female-perpetrated domestic violence.
But the kind you're not supposed to hit back.
Of domestic violence reports. The third most frequent is male-perpetrated domestic violence. That's about 15% of all the reports. In other words, the so-called wife battering cases are a distant third when we look at the whole sort of panoply of domestic violence patterns that we can get.
And I'd like to say something. FBI statistics says 70% of the time the woman is the aggressor in domestic violence cases.
That makes sense.
And the most violent of any relationships are lesbian relationships.
Oh shit! Can't say that.
That makes sense too.
That's all supposed to be all love, nothing but love. Female love, vaginal love, rubbing clitoris is love.
Yeah,
they don't keep themselves looking nice
love.
for each other like that.
Skittle love.
It'd be fat bitches making another fat, ugly, funky, nasty bitch mad at her.
Oh man, hey, look, man, no, this is not funny though. Like I have a partner in St. Louis, man, and his daughter, is LGBTQ, and she was having a spat with some girl, man. The girl ran off the road, man, and broke a leg in 3 or 4 places, broke 4 or 5 ribs and shit, trying to run off the highway.
It's a man's world.
He was like, man, he was pissed about that shit. Oh, he was super hot.
You should have told her, hey, welcome, shit.
Oh, man, he was ready to go hurt that girl, man. And you know what I'm saying? He ready to go hurt that girl, boy.
But wait a minute. That's the lesson that his daughter needed. Like, wait a minute. Bitches is that crazy. It don't matter if you trying to put on, you know what I'm saying, some type of social ethos of I don't know what the fuck that type of masculinity or manhood they think they putting on, but obviously just in the clothes, baby. You gotta have more than just the clothes. You know
so
what I'm
I fuck with the trolls though. Look, I don't give, man. Fuck you, trolls. I'm trying to look. I'm not sitting here lying to you for the sake of fucking lying to you because I have nothing to gain from it. What am I? I'm sitting here, man. I can make money talking about stupid shit if I wanted to on YouTube.
You probably make more.
Like, reaching out to this audience, man, like I could be basically lying to women all day long. Hey, baby, I could Derek Jackson you motherfuckers.
There you go.
Have a Giga Chad avatar or some shit. Taking off my clothes, looking like the Irish Spring Man or some shit.
Look at me. Look at him. Look at me. Look at your man. Look at me.
Motherfucking Dos Equis, man, and shit. You know what I mean? Lying it. Hey, baby, you know what I'm saying? You got to understand, man, these men, they don't understand your value, queen. But you have to know your value. And if you don't know your value, you will never be valued. That's one to grow on, baby.
My man just graduated with a PhD from Dirk Jacksonism.
Hey, look, if a man is not willing to give you his time, his effort, and his resources, then you need to draw back. Draw back. So don't text as much. Don't call as much. Don't be eager to go out on dates. You need to develop a line. You need to establish your value from the onset. And if you don't do that, then you'll be looked at as a doormat. He'll find you to be easy access, and he'll turn you over just like the next chick that he did. This is one to grow on. Holler at you later, ladies. Stay righteous, queen.
You know what?
I mean, I should start another channel. Just start
shit.
milking motherfuckers.
You know what?
Just drift off, you dumbass motherfuckers.
You know
'Cause
what?
if you tell you the truth, if motherfuckers tell you the truth, you don't want to hear that shit. But you want to hear a whole bunch of motherfucking, hey, look, let me tell you something. If a woman is violent towards a man, it's because that woman has been pushed to the precipice, the limit. Okay? Because we all know what the natural and inherent responsibilities and the disposition of a woman is. She's sugar and spice and everything nice, and you already know that you set that woman off. That's why she broke the windows out of your car. That's why she grabbed that knife from the kitchen cabinet. That's why she grabbed that gun that you keep under the dresser and to hide from the kids. That's why she went and got it and shot at your ass.
That's why you got them grit burns.
From the
okay, I'm done, man. I'm done with it. But the whole point is, look, I'm not here to lead people on.
Oh shit.
All I'm trying to do is say, hey, look, we can make moral arguments. And I don't have a problem with making moral arguments, but let's make matters of fact investigations when we make matters of fact statements. And it's cool. You can give me a challenge to go look at the stats, but don't come in my motherfucking chat being all snarky and shit. Motherfucker, I'm like Snoop, nigga, don't get pimp slapped. You get pimp slapped in this motherfucking chat right here. I throw your ass out on the street. You know what I'm saying? This is not no safe haven for hoes. You understand me?
Bitch in the
you
trunk.
I throw your ass out of here like Jazzy Jeff. You'll be out the motherfucking door. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I give you the friendly fuck you finger. You know what I'm saying? Like Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
You understand?
You know
what I
what?
mean? I tell you to go get some help. Stop and go get some help.
Stop.
I tell
Get
you,
some
hey,
help.
it's over.
Stop.
I'll ride to you later. I tell you, bitch, please.
You know what? I'm gonna steal Green Gorilla's idea. I'm gonna make a second channel called Winter
I
Fresh.
tell you, hey, let the doughnut hit you with a good Lord
Oh my
split.
God! Did you just play Small Wonder? God damn!
Yo, Small Wonder, dude. That's funny.
God damn!
It's a small wonder.
You gonna make me steal your idea,
Jimmy?
You're gonna make me steal your idea and start my channel called Winter Fresh.
Hey man, look.
Oh,
man.
wow.
The winter.
Hey man, look. All you gotta do, man, is do some push-ups before the show start and shit. Wear a little shirt that's kind of tight, nigga. Do some curls and shit. Hit them 60 pounders before you get started, nigga. Get that pump popping.
Get that
You know what I'm
pump.
saying? Start talking shit. Hey, ladies. And then I usually use an alto voice, but you got to get baritone. Hey, look. You got to get a little baritone. Start using your lower registers. You feel me? Like one of the things you ladies got to understand, man, is men, are visual creatures. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make yourself look nice. So if you're a little overweight, you might want to spend some time in the gym. You know what I'm saying? But like when you meet your man, always look your best. And sometimes you got to, give that man something to aspire to. Don't make it so easy. This is one to grow on, ladies. I'll let you later.
By Winter Fresh.
By Winter Fresh.
And you have a little breeze coming through.
So you say baby oil. Put some baby oil. Hey, make sure you shave your chest hairs and shit, right?
Sometimes
I ain't shaving shit, man.
Some of them like the chest hands, man.
Yeah, I'm just talking shit. Hey, bro, look, man. I
Baby,
wouldn't
he
even,
just don't
man. I
understand
wouldn't
you the
even
way that I
prostitute
do.
myself doing no stupid shit like
gotta
that. But
gotta grow
Just
a
pay
rabbit
attention to what I said.
ash for him and shit.
yeah, do the LL. Look, do the LL. Lick your lips and shit, nigga.
Lick your lips.
Yeah,
Call
LL.
him ma or baby,
Fuck.
queen.
What's up? You know, hey, look here, ma. Look, don't you can't call them ma because they're gonna think that's condescending and shit. So I'm saying, queen, goddess,
Ain't that a bitch?
Spiritual woman of the world.
man, conquering. You know, underneath everything, emanating, newness. I just tried to
God.
create some bullshit acronym for queen and shit.
You know, after every successful black man,
It's a beautiful, strong black woman.
black woman, even though she weighs 300 pounds, and be
No.
her is
1-800 phone a hoe, man. Stop it, man. Come on. But look, the only thing about this is, bro. Look, we just heard a woman like go through gymnastics and shit to demonstrate that it's okay, it's permissible. She never said it was permissible for women to hit men, though. She never said that. But what she did underscore was the fact that in no case ever should a man put his hands on a woman, ever. Okay. And, I get it, but like the reality of the situation is, like, if you want to start talking about real world shit, the reality is no human beings, man, are not going to allow themselves to be slapped and punched and beat up, man.
A punching bag.
Incessantly, man. Nobody, you keep slapping the dog on his mouth, that motherfucker will bite you, even if you own the dog.
Exactly, but that's any living being. That's the only thing. This is what the ill part about that. That's why I say feminism is the coldest form of pimping ever created in existence. It has them distorting the worth of themselves and the worth of everything attached to them. She don't even understand it, that she's actually distorting the worth. I don't know if that one chick that was on Themis' show, saying got a son or not. But she don't understand that she's diminishing the worth of her son.
No, she ain't. I guarantee you, she ain't got no son. You know what I'm saying? Because look, first of all, you're gonna have fidelity to your child above and beyond anything else.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like that's. I mean, typically, I mean, you got to be really programmed. You got to have. You have to have really drunk the Kool-Aid to have fidelity to an ideal, or to have fidelity to a demographic that don't really rock with you like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you really, because your child is going to be, it comes out of your body. That's part of your genetic code. There's a natural affinity you're going to have for your own children. And if a woman socks your boy, you're going to be like, fuck that little girl to hit my boy. I mean, if you love your kid, and naturally people love their children, tend to favor their own children more than others, especially women. That fucks me up because women expect for men to take care of other people's kids and shit. But like, how often do women take in other niggas' kids and shit? I ain't gonna say it never happened, but
that's, you know what? That's an interesting question because I've never really experienced such an element of that dynamic. I mean, like, wow.
I ain't gonna say it ain't never happened, but like, I mean, like women really like they have the expectation that like, shit, I'm a package deal. Yeah. How many motherfucking women like, well, I'm gonna take in like the Brady Bunch type situation. They might be on some you gonna take me and my baby situation, but the Brady Bunch, nah.
You know what? That's interesting because like my mom and my stepdad, like he had 2 children, she had 3, and they did that. But it had me, you got me thinking if a woman with no children would marry into a single father household.
I've seen it happen. I mean, I've had chicks, man. And I ain't marry them, but but typically, man, it's hard. Like I ain't gonna lie, man. It's hard to meet a chick that ain't got no kids for real, bro.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like I ain't saying they ain't out there. They are out there, okay. But it's damn hard, bro. Like you know what I'm saying? It's difficult, bro. Like, damn, you ain't got no kids. Damn, straight up. You know what I'm saying? I've knocked a few of them down. You know what I'm saying? But like, holler at you. Keep rocks. You know what I'm saying? But look, man, we at the three hour mark, man. I ain't even expect for this shit to go this long, man.
Already.
I came here. I want to do a quick hit because, This is, I mean, look, I have never watched Themis's channel, man, so I don't know some of the shit that he says, but look, this is what I do know. I just don't like the whole notion of black men being responsible for all the pathology that exists in the community, because white women created this narrative that wrote them out of like harm's way. Like they aren't part of colonialism, slavery, and Jim Crow and the lynching projects. That shit was responsible for killing millions of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But now everybody wants to talk about like getting slapped around the house and shit. They was slapping little Negro boys and girls around the house and shit. Molesting them and shit. Hanging, doing all kind of perverted shit. Making they breast perky as a motherfucker. You breastfeeding the kid.
Mm-hmm. Getting your titties all sagged up. Ain't that a bitch?
You know what I'm saying? They tits looking real good. You know what I'm saying? They figure on pizzles. You know what I'm saying? They got your milk pop.
Hey, they know I'm finna mash out. Appreciate the shopping, Gigi. Respect.
Peace out, man. Now it's all about a sisterhood. Like it's all about all women uniting and shit. Right when the law serves their interest and shit. And then you riding with them. Like, oh, it's all, these men are killing us in droves. It's a genocide here, a femicide. Come on, man. Cut the cap out, man. Just cut the cap out.
My last word is out is that I'm starting the show in about 5 minutes. Do you mind if I put the link in the chat?
You put it in there, bro. Please put the link in the chat.
It's going to be very interesting, my take on a lot of this stuff that's been happening. But I appreciate it. Thank you for giving us your scholarly information. Your boy's about to have a cigar, a little liquor.
And hang out with your niggas.
Woo! Thank you, VG.
Be good, man. You got some last words, Chaos, man?
I want to say this. In regards to this, that woman trying to justify physical violence towards boys and also men, I said, baby, you need to go reevaluate your life. These young dudes say, or any man, I'm not gonna allow no woman just put their hands on me if ain't no one's gonna get slapped. I'm sorry. And for that justification, it lets me know saying only in America you'll think and operate like this. But take that same energy outside the borders of America. That's why one thing I will give credit to Omar is you can't bring that bullshit to Africa. That's why a lot of them won't do well outside the West, Green Gorilla. And we need data to know that. We see we see throughout social media their reports going back to go find mates outside this country. They will put hands in a minute. This is the best place for a lot of women in America, or just women generally, America, because they justify, they protect the degeneracy. They will create an environment for them to physically harm hands on a man, and someone's going to come to save their ass, whether it's the police force or some, unfortunately, beta simp male. Where if you're really moving into your actual femininity, you don't need to really take any pushback. All you gotta do is you just walk away. I see women that dudes be hard all day. All they do is they just turn and they just walk on. They don't say nothing, and then the energy dissipates. That's how it works.
Yeah, sometimes, like women need to show restraint as well, man. It's not just something the men need to do. Women need to show restraint also. So having said that, man, look, let's close this out. Right. Thank y'all for joining me this fine afternoon, evening. And, I'll hit y'all with the next one. But, look, this ain't meant to be homophobic or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be pejorative towards the Themis guy. I haven't watched enough of his content, you know what I'm saying? But I do know he sympathizes with all BWs. And if they on some fucked up shit, man, they gotta be responsible for their shit, too. It's not just men that have to be responsible related to what white women have set up and established. Everybody got to be responsible for their shit. So, peace out to y'all, man. I'll holler at y'all on the next one.
Take care, guys.